Chapter 761, Auctioning Ma and Zhao. The intense bidding had finally ended. In the end, the rank 8 Gu Immortal, 5 Elements Grandmaster, used a rank 7 Metal Path and a rank 6 Metal Path Immortal Gu, along with countless immortal materials to become the eventual winner. 5 Elements Grandmaster's cultivation included the 5 paths of metal, wood, water, fire, earth. Thus, he had some Metal Path Immortal Gu as well. But this time, he was discarding a portion of his prized collection. It was like he was throwing away a meat-filled bun for a less tasty plain bread. Fang Yuan found it regrettable, but he had no way to compete in the bidding. Even if he had Gu Immortal captives, in terms of value, they could not compare to this extremely unique Immortal Gu. In fact, Reverse Misfortune Immortal Gu was very suitable with Spring-Autumn Cicada. The weakness of Spring-Autumn Cicada was that it gave the user bad luck. But after using this Immortal Gu, not only could this weakness be solved, the user's luck could even be improved, turning into good luck. Undeniably, the effect of Reverse Misfortune Immortal Gu was much more convenient than Connect Luck Immortal Gu. Unfortunately, Fang Yuan's financial power was at a completely disadvantage compared to people like 5 Elements Grandmaster and Yao Huang. Fang Yuan had only been an immortal for such a short time. From the point he obtained to Immortal Blessed Land, only 2 years had passed according to the time of the 5 regions. Looking at southern border, the great battles at Tian Mountain had not even begun yet. Honestly speaking, Fang Yuan was able to become an immortal zombie in such a short time. Developing himself to this point was already very difficult. As for 5 Elements Grandmaster, Yao Huang, and Feng Jiugu, they had already accumulated their wealth for countless years. They had hundreds of thousands of immortal essence stones, in addition to precious immortal materials. The amount of resources their immortal aperture worlds created each year could pile up into a mountain. The resources that they provided could even heavily affect the market in Treasure Yellow Heaven. These were all powerhouses, be it their battle strength, financial power, connections, or status. Fang Yuan could not compare with them at this moment. After Reverse Misfortune, it was another rank 7 Immortal Gu, called Blessing in Disguise. This Gu's ability was quite mystical. It targeted the immortal aperture's calamities and tribulations. After a Gu immortal undergoes tribulation, the Dao marks on their bodies would increase in numbers, causing their cultivation level to progress. This was common knowledge in Gu immortal cultivation. Blessing in Disguise Immortal Gu targeted this point. After using it, when a Gu immortal completes a tribulation, the increase in the number of Dao marks on them would be twice that of the original amount. This was a terrifying number. The reward of 1 tribulation would be equal to the amount normal people get from 2 tribulations. But this Gu had a flaw. It had to be activated before the calamities and tribulations. It could only stop after the calamities and tribulations had ended. Through the effect of this Gu, the calamities and tribulations would have a 30 to 40% increase in strength, based on their original power. This weakness dampened the enthusiasm in the Gu immortals slightly. But they could still not resist the temptation. Read Lat. St chapters at no, v, e, l, bin/.c/o/m only. Up to 40% more power in the tribulation in exchange for twice the amount of Dao marks. The benefit outweighed the cost. For those experts confident in surviving a tribulation, this immortal Gu had much greater attraction to them. A terrifying auction thus unfolded. As a Metal Path Gu Immortal, Qin Baixing naturally requested for a rank 7 Metal Path Immortal Gu as the base bid. Eventually, Heavenly Lord Baizu had sweat on his forehead as he defeated his competitors, obtaining this Gu. The following auction items caused surges in turn. Fortuitous encounter Immortal Gu that could allow opportunities to arrive for the Gu Immortal themselves. Immortal Gu from the 5 mainstream paths, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, that were helpful to Gu Immortals. An Immortal Gu that operated in both Luck Path and Wisdom Path, Luck Deduction Immortal Gu, it could consume one's own luck to make deductions on dangers or opportunities in the future. Luck suppression immortal Gu that could suppress the loss of one's own luck from other immortal Gu. These immortal Gu were indeed the essence of the luck path true inheritance. Not only were they incredible, they had useful effects that broadened everyone's horizons. But these Gu fell into the hands of Yao Huang, Feng Jiu Gu, and the other powerhouses. This was an expected situation. Feng Yuan wanted to interfere, but he did not have any metal path immortal Gu. This was a helpless matter. The other rank 6 Gu immortals and most rank 7 Gu immortals were like Feng Yuan, only able to watch these powerhouses compete for immortal Gu. The prices of the auction items created new records. Feng Yuan's records from the 2 immortal Gu he sold were already pushed out of the top 10. The next item is the final, and most important item in this auction. Qin Baixing introduced it as such. His way of speaking immediately attracted the attention of the Gu immortals. Just as everyone was guessing to themselves what immortal Gu it was, Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun, who were unconscious, appeared on the stage. Qin Baixing spoke at an appropriate time. Please do not be alarmed, I am sure a lot of Gu immortals have guessed it already. That is right, these two are the crucial people who were protected by the luck path true inheritance previously. This girl is called Zhao Lianyun. She was very intelligent since a young age, and had experienced the crucial battle in Imperial Court Blessed Land. Although she was not the true inheritor, she had obtained a lot of benefits inside the luck path true inheritance light lump. She had obtained a portion of the luck path inheritance. As for this young man, he is Ma Hongyun, the one and only recognized inheritor of the luck path true inheritance. Not only did he experience the battle in Imperial Court Blessed Land, he even has had the fortune rivaling heaven immortal Gu used on him. Once he said that, the commotion was like a huge wave. Countless heated gazes were tightly fixed on Ma Hongyun. Did I hear wrongly? It is really fortune rivaling heaven immortal Gu. Fortune rivaling heaven. This is the trump card Gu of giant sun immortal venerable. Although it was not recorded in history, there were many rumors that praised this immortal Gu endlessly. But this fortune rivaling heaven immortal Gu seems to be a consumable Gu, it can only be used once. Since it is the rank 8 fortune rivaling heaven, could Brother Qin use the rank 6 luck inspection immortal Gu to check it? In the main hall, a Gu immortal suddenly questioned. Qin Baixing smiled as he replied, according to the information that I obtained in the true inheritance, unless it is the rank 8 luck inspection immortal Gu, one cannot see the true appearance of fortune rivaling heaven. Luck inspection immortal Gu below rank 8 can only see a portion of it. And that is only because the other party did not use any concealment method. Honestly speaking, I have already used the rank 6 luck inspection immortal Gu to find out some traces of fortune rivaling heaven. As for why I am so certain that fortune rivaling heaven was used on Ma Hongyun, that is because I have searched their souls. If you buy one of them and conduct soul searching, you will be able to see what happened inside Imperial Court Blessed Land. By then, you will know that my words are true. At the same time, these two inherited a huge portion of the luck path true inheritance. During the process of soul searching, you will be able to learn what they had learned in the inheritance. Saying this, Qin Baixing paused and said in an enticing tone, I have bad news to share with everyone first. The luck path true inheritance is undoubtedly incomplete, the details do not contain the immortal Gu recipe of fortune rivaling heaven immortal Gu. But there is good news, in the inheritance details, there is a method to take back fortune rivaling heaven. It is possible to refine the used fortune rivaling heaven immortal Gu and obtain the original immortal Gu. Of course, during the process of refinement, the main material would be this young man, Ma Hongyun. Hearing these words, most of the Gu immortals had eyes shining like they were going to burst out in fire, some even gulped, as everyone was filled with anticipation and desire. Qin Baixing's lips curled, he showed a confident smile, I feel that these two youngsters can best represent the essence of the luck path true inheritance. I will not be setting a base price for them, because they are not immortal Gu. You can bid for one of them, or both of them at the same time. We will start now. No base price. I will offer 300 immortal essence stones. One person shouted within the hall of enthusiastic Gu immortals. 30,000 immortal essence stones. Feng Jiugu said coldly, multiplying the bid by 100 times. But this price could not stop the enthusiasm of the other experts, it could only deny most of the bottom-tier Gu immortals. Yao Huang, the Eastern Sea Gu immortal, 5 Elements Grandmaster, Old Ancestor Shui Hu, and Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu, they were still bidding, and the representatives of the super forces were not showing weakness either. The price skyrocketed at an extremely fast pace. Feng Yuan sighed to himself. His financial power was like an ant compared to these giants. Unless he put all of his Gu immortal captives on the line, he could not contest with them. But Feng Yuan would not do this. He was already on the strength path, and was planning to go into time path. He was not going to develop his luck path attainment. And he was also the main culprit of the Imperial Court Blessed Land incident. He had experienced more of that series of events than Ma and Zhao. He knew most of the inner details. Regarding the information of the luck path true inheritance as well as the reverse refinement of fortune rivaling heaven immortal Gu, they were very tempting indeed. But fortune rivaling heaven immortal Gu was rank 8, Feng Yuan was only rank 6, how could he refine it? His finances would definitely be unable to support it. Furthermore, even if he succeeded, he did not have the ability to keep it. The bidding of Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun lasted for much of the hour. Eventually, 2 unthinkable prices stood at the top 2 spots, at the record highest prices in this auction. The second spot was Feng Jiugu, he had bought Zhao Lianyun. The one who obtained Ma Hongyun was the rank 8 great expert Old Ancestor Shui Hu. The leader of Snowy Mountain Blessed Land, the number 1 person in the demonic path, had shown his incredible wealth at the end of the auction. Before this, he had always concealed himself, barely buying anything. Towards the end, he dealt a heavy blow and swept his enemies away. Many Gu immortals, especially the representatives from the super forces who had the Huang Jin bloodline, had no choice but to watch as Ma Hongyun fell into the hands of the demonic path. Yao Huang sighed, he had bought many things already and expended a large amount of wealth. At the final moment, he lost to Old Ancestor Shui Hu. But thankfully, Zhao Lianyun is still in the hands of our Northern Plains righteous path. The Gu immortals that had the Huang Jin bloodline consoled themselves. What they did not know was, Sword Master Yulan, who was representing Prince Feng Xian, was an impostor called Feng Jiugu. Speaking of which, this was really ironic. During his life, Giant Sun Immortal Venerable had kept the luck path true inheritance as a deep secret, setting up layers of protection and thinking of passing the complete version down to his descendants. In the end, the luck path true inheritance became incomplete and was split up by everyone, circulating into the entire world. The most important inheritors were even held in the hands of people who were not part of the Huang Jin bloodline. Chapter 762, Red Fiend Divine Boat. The main auction has ended. Next, there will be a 2-hour break for everyone to move around in the auction hall. 2 hours later, we will have the open transaction. After Qin Baixing said that, he left the stage. He was tired, as the host the entire time, especially when he auctioned the essence of the luck path true inheritance, because his own benefits were at stake, he made many schemes during the process. Even though there were many traces and most of the Gu immortals present could tell, the profits were too immense, Qin Baixing could not care less. After this auction is over, I will escape and hide from the world. After managing and processing my gains for most of a century, I will roam the world after that. Qin Baixing decided in his head. He was the biggest winner of this auction. The immortal materials he obtained could pile into a mountain. He also obtained many metal path immortal Gu that were compatible with him. The saying goes, humans die for wealth and birds die for food. Profits could move the human heart, even if Gu immortals ordinarily appeared to be unconcerned with worldly matters, that was only because mortal materials cannot satisfy their desires. Auctioning the essence of the luck path true inheritance was extremely profitable, it was greatly heated. Even the rank 7 expert, Qin Baisheng, had felt uneasy. In the main hall, discussions soon commenced. Many Gu immortals came out of the single rooms and mixed into the group, engaging in conversations together. Qin Baisheng left a 2-hour break for everyone, he had his own intentions. It was not really a time to rest, but it was for the Gu immortals to communicate with each other and interact. From the auction earlier, everyone had gained a certain level of understanding towards each other's resources. Now, to exchange for the things they wanted, they would naturally need to interact first. Fang Yuan and Tai Baiyunxing sat in the secret rooms and did not move. Unfamiliar face was a mortal killer move, it had limited effect and the two had to be careful, they could not expose themselves. Fang Yuan felt some regret that he was unable to obtain anything in the luck path true inheritance. Especially Ma and Zhao, the people who knew the truth of the imperial court incident, Fang Yuan wanted to deal with them. But he did not have enough strength, he could only watch and could not interfere, there was nothing he could do. Thankfully, he had not sold the Gu immortal captives in his hands yet, there was the open trading later, he could still look forward to that. Discover new Tories at N. ve/lbin.c/o. 2 hours later, Qin Baisheng stepped onto the stage again, announcing the start of the open transactions. For the sake of fairness, he did the same thing again, using Gu worms to choose a lucky person to enter the stage first. This first Gu immortal took out a large amount of an immortal material, broken wave flowers, his request was, prosperity soil. Broken wave flowers grew in large rivers, they were magical flowers born during the moments where waves appeared and vanished. Because they had a short lifespan, they were hard to gather. As for prosperity soil, diamond soil, green fist soil, these soils were highly sought after items by Gu immortals. Gu immortals developed their immortal apertures, they used the resources produced in their immortal apertures to cultivate, the fertility of their soil played a huge role in this. Prosperity soil could grow all sorts of flowers, diamond soil could grow minerals, while green fist soil could accumulate and gather the fertility to prevent it from vanishing, it was suited for immortal apertures with terrain resembling barren lands, like deserts. Gu immortals who owned prosperity soil were not few. Immediately, they started speaking, asking how much was needed for the trade. The seller on the stage actually had large numbers of broken wave flowers. After trading for 1,500 kilograms of prosperity soil, he waved his hand and left the stage. The difference between the auction and the open transaction was very obvious. The auction was for valuable items, they had a huge prerequisite for bidders. The open transaction often involved scattered trades, the entry level was low. But this was not universal. After several Gu immortals, a Gu immortal who did not want to expose themselves showed an immortal Gu and asked Qin Baisheng to sell it for them. This immortal Gu was one that did not get sold earlier, the seller had lowered their requirements greatly. But even so, the request was still an immortal Gu. There were a few people who responded, they wanted the price to be lower. The seller refused and eventually, the trade failed and this immortal Gu returned to the seller's hands. When it was Fang Yuan's turn, more than 30 rounds had passed. The 37th secret room is selling a Gu immortal captive. Qin Baisheng said as he displayed the sleeping Gu immortal inside the sleeping cloud coffin. Immediately, the auction hall went into a commotion. The slave trade industry was well known by every immortal. But to sell Gu immortals like they were slaves, this was an extremely rare event. For many Gu immortals, this was the first time they had seen it. At once, Gu immortals discussed as their expressions varied. When Qin Baisheng announced it again, the scattered conversations in the hall became softer. Someone asked for the details. Qin Baixing introduced, this Gu immortal captive might be familiar to some of you, he is Loner Hongyu, a rank 6 fire path Gu immortal. His cultivation is at 1 heavenly tribulation. This is the situation inside his blessed land, you can all take a look. Saying so, the image on the stage changed, reflecting the situation of Loner Hongyu's immortal aperture. This blessed land is a little barren. Yes, managing his blessed land so poorly, no wonder he was captured alive. Don't forget, the Gu immortal who captured him must have already looted his blessed land already. To us fire path Gu immortals, isn't it better if this Loner Hongyu's cultivation is lower? The Gu immortals were moved. Fire path Gu immortals had great demand for Loner Hongyu's immortal aperture. Once they swallowed his blessed land, they could skip 1 heavenly tribulation, many earthly calamities, and gain cultivation levels out of nowhere, the foundation of their blessed land would surge by a huge amount. Even if one was not a fire path Gu immortal, most of the Gu immortals also wanted the blessed land. Even if their paths were different and they could not swallow the blessed land, they could still occupy this ownerless blessed land after killing him, and obtain a good territory to manage. If they managed it well, the blessed land would be like a source of treasures, producing resources endlessly, sustaining the Gu immortals' cultivation needs. Just as Qin Baixing had expected, Loner Hongyu became a sought-after commodity. Fang Yuan listed a broad range of requests. First, he listed a large amount of immortal materials, next was killer moves from Strength Path, Poison Path, Time Path and Wisdom Path. Next was all sorts of Gu recipes, the rarer they were the better. After that, he asked for desolate beast corpses, food path inheritances or clues for them, wisdom path inheritances or clues, time path inheritances or clues. Finally, he asked for battle bone will Gu, the recipes for white bone chariot, lifespan Gu and others. Eventually, Loner Hongyu went into 5 Elements Grandmaster's hands. 5 Elements Grandmaster cultivated metal, wood, water, fire, earth, all 5 paths. Loner Hongyu's immortal aperture was useful to him. After selling Loner Hongyu, the next person was up. According to the rules of the open transaction, each Gu immortal could only sell 1 thing in each round. This was for fairness. Fang Yuan was not anxious, he patiently waited. After some rounds, he had sold more than half of his Gu immortal captives. Not only did he finish Xianxia land spirits checklist, he even had extra. Not only this, Fang Yuan also obtained the corpse of a desolate beast bat. During this period of time, he noticed that he was not the only one selling Gu immortal captives. Old Ancestor Xuehu and Heavenly Lord Baizu sold them openly. The Eastern Sea Gu immortal sold 3 immortal zombie bodies, causing the displeasure of Yin Lu Gong and Dragon Commander Yi Cha. But in the end, Yao Huang joyfully bought these 3 immortal zombie bodies. After seeing this, Fang Yuan relaxed a bit. Xianxia land spirit was not the only one capable of capturing Gu immortals. No matter how excellent you are, there is always someone more excellent than you. There were more capable people among other Gu immortals. During this period of time, Fang Yuan had changed his room continuously, obscuring his traces and preventing others from finding out that he was the person who was selling most of the Gu immortal captives. Gradually, more and more Gu immortals stopped trading, they chose to watch on the sidelines. They had basically accomplished their respective goals. The remaining Gu immortals, even though they were few in number, the goods they were selling were getting more precious and valuable. By the 9th round, Gu immortals were starting to leave. Just as Fang Yuan thought that the last of his Gu immortal captives would be sold routinely, Qin Baixing's expression changed, as he received a major request from a lone cultivator. He raised his voice as he said, "Next, we will be selling the complete Gu recipe of the immortal Gu house, Red Fiend Divine Boat, as well as the method to use it. The seller is requesting for anything that can assist them in cultivating wood path. What? Red Fiend Divine Boat? They are selling this Immortal Gu house. Why are they selling it now? The auction is nearing its end. The people who left earlier must be dying of regret. In 2 single rooms, Yin Lu Gong and Dragon Commander Yi Cha had very ugly expressions. Zombie Alliance was trying to eliminate the Gu Immortal who was selling the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe, but this lone cultivator was very good at hiding, they could not find a chance to strike. At the auction, Zombie Alliance could not make a move on him, they could only urge him and offer a high price. But this lone cultivator was swayed by the atmosphere of the auction, he became greedy and demanded even higher prices, extorting and threatening Zombie Alliance. Finally, just earlier, their discussions had ended in failure, with the lone cultivator immediately putting up the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe for sale. I will pay 6,000 Immortal Essence Stones and 1,500 kilograms of red refinement metal to buy it all. Immortal Farmer Soil. I have 4,000 kilograms of Immortal Farmer Soil, I will use it all to exchange for the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe. You bunch of fools, didn't you hear Brother Chin's words? The seller wants wood path resources, I have jade fallen grass here. So what if it is jade fallen grass, I have instinct roots. At once, everyone's moods were riled up, as the representatives of the super forces and the rank 8 great experts joined in. The 2 leaders of Zombie Alliance were furious, but they had to join in the competition. At once, the calm open transaction had turned into a battlefield, like they were back in the auction rounds. The allure of the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe was obvious from this. I am willing to pay with a wood path Immortal Gu, in exchange for the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe. Soon, the representative of a super force, Meng tribe, shouted. My Yuan tribe also has a wood path Immortal Gu, we will also add in 300 true martial carps. Yuan Rang Zun shouted, the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe was too alluring, he even used his precious true martial carps as part of the bid. If you let my Zombie Alliance purchase this, I, Yin Lu Gong, will vow this on my reputation, I will definitely resell this recipe. Yin Lu Gong said coldly. I, Yao Huang, can attest for that. Soon after, Yao Huang spoke, adding weight to these words. I have a wisdom path Immortal Gu, unravel mystery, it can deduce all traces of any inheritance. I will add in 3 vats of Lingji liquid. Heavenly Lord Bai Zhu shouted. At once, shouting could be heard everywhere, it was a chaotic scene. Fong Yuan's heart was moved, his eyes burst with brilliant light. If he did not hear wrongly, that was the Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu, correct? Chapter 763, 3 parties mutually win. Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu, Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu. Fong Yuan muttered, his finger was tapping on the handle of his seat as it made soft noises. Bidding could be heard all over the auction hall. At the end of the auction, such a huge treasure like the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe appeared, this was an unexpected surprise. Ordinary lone cultivators did not need to consider it, only the rank 7 Gu immortals in super forces or rank 8 great experts could have any chance in competing for it. Especially the super forces, the allure of the Immortal Gu house was extremely great for the super forces. The price rose at an absurd speed, climbing rapidly. Even though this was the open transaction, everyone was fighting for the good, they subconsciously returned to the auction format that was used previously. Qin Baisheng laughed bitterly. The regulations were set by him, but seeing these experts screaming their lungs out, he chose to watch on the sidelines. At this point, talking about regulations would just offend all of these powerhouses. Do you see, this is the attraction of the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe, your Zombie Alliance was simply too stingy. The seller acted arrogantly upon seeing this, sending a message to the 2 leaders of Zombie Alliance. Dragon Commander Yi Cha's face darkened. Yin Lu Gong was sighing helplessly, looking at this price. It was already higher than what the Zombie Alliance was planning to pay. And this was not the end, the price was still climbing. Yin Lu Gong was a sensible person. He knew that at this point, the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe could not belong to Zombie Alliance. When Leader returns, who knew would she criticize him, for being so incapable in handling this matter? As Fang Yuan listened to the bids, he assessed quietly in his mind. I have 4 Gu immortal captives left. One of them is Wu Hao, known as Rushing Thunder Hand. He is the only rank 7 captive I have. There are 3 others, they are the 3 Hua High Immortals, they cultivate Wood Path. Evidently, there was little chance of success if he wanted to use these 4 Gu immortal captives to trade for Heavenly Lord Bai Zu's Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu. Heavenly Lord Bai Zu was an enslavement path Gu immortal, with a different path. The allure of these 4 Gu immortal captives was greatly lowered. The other point was, Immortal Gu were unique, and Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu was very useful. If not for the attraction of the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe, Heavenly Lord Bai Zu would not have exposed such a good Gu. If I try to trade it directly, it would not work. The Strength Path Immortal Gu that I just obtained have no use to Heavenly Lord Bai Zu. If I use Calamity Beckoning Immortal Gu, I will be exchanging a rank 7 for a rank 6, that exchange would be at a loss. As for Fixed Immortal Travel and Connect Luck, they are indispensable to me, I cannot trade them away. But Fang Yuan did not want to give up on Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu. If he missed this chance, if he missed this situation, even if he had the resources in the future, it would be hard to trade for it. Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu was not a necessity to Fang Yuan. But in his memories, he had to weigh to use this Gu as the core. In combination with other rare supplementary Gu worms, he could conjure a Dream Path Killer move. A Dream Path Immortal Killer move. At this time, the prophecy of the 3 Venerables had spread throughout the 5 regions. Because of Great Dream Immortal Venerable, almost all of the super forces and rank 8 powerhouses were researching Dream Path. Although their research results were shallow, dream realms were already starting to manifest. There were already 2 Dream Path Immortal Gu he knew of in this life. One was in Feng Jin Huang's hands, the other was in Lady Poison Scorpion's possession. To speak of it, the latter was more problematic. Feng Jin Huang was still a mortal lass, but Lady Poison Scorpion was in her blessed land, slumbering as she explored a dream realm. Everyone knew that Dream Path was the trend of the future. Thus, they treasured anything relating to this path greatly. Many Dream Path Mortal Gu that they refined were not shown to the world, they were the greatest mysteries of each force. Those who were able to become Gu Immortals were dragons among men, they had good foresight and were very shrewd individuals. Even in an auction of such scale, there had been no Dream Path-related treasures sold. Fang Yuan knew about the Gu recipes of many Dream Path Mortal Gu. But Mortal Gu were not helpful towards the exploration of dream realms. Otherwise, the major forces would have started exploring dream realms en masse already. The truly useful ones were Dream Path Immortal Gu. But the amazing thing was, be it the 2 that appeared now, or the Dream Path Immortal Gu that appeared in the future according to Fang Yuan's memories, they were all in the hands of women. Perhaps this was explained by the prophecy of 3 venerables, stating 2 male venerables and 1 female venerable. With this, one could deduce that Great Dream Immortal Venerable would be a female Immortal Venerable. Within a short time, Fang Yuan would not be able to obtain a Dream Path Immortal Gu. But if he had a Dream Path Immortal Killer move, then that could substitute for the effect of a Dream Path Immortal Gu. Gu are the essence of heaven and earth, man is the spirit of all living beings. One could say, the use of Gu depended on the user. There was no strongest Gu worm, only a strongest Gu master. Genius Gu masters could often match different Gu worms together, unleashing a greater effect from that. For example, Fang Yuan did not have a Strength Path Immortal Gu previously, but he used the Soul Path Cleanse Soul Immortal Gu, combined with other Mortal Gu, to form the Immortal Killer move Myriad Self, creating a starting point of the path formed from the convergence of enslavement and strength. This Dream Path Immortal Killer move was the same case. The core Immortal Gu was of Wisdom Path, Unravel Mystery, but it was a Dream Path Killer move. If I can obtain this Gu, I will be able to collect Dream Realm Gu materials and refine the various Mortal Gu. Even though it would spend some time, but once I succeed in forming my killer move, the rewards will be immensely more profitable. I will be able to make up for the regret during my previous life, becoming a pioneer in the exploration of dream realms, being ahead of all the forces in this world, being ahead of the superpowers. Fang Yuan's mouth turned dry as he thought about it. He estimated, the potential value coming from this Dream Path Killer move was in no way lower than Wisdom Gu. It was only beneath what had come from Spring Autumn Cicada and Hu Immortal Blessed Land, but higher than All-Out Effort Gu. Among the countless opportunities in Fang Yuan's previous life, the most valuable one was Spring Autumn Cicada. Even though it was rank 6, far inferior to Wisdom Gu's rank 9, it could allow Fang Yuan to be reborn and start again. Even if there was a chance of failure, didn't he succeed every time until now? If he failed the first time, it would have been the worst opportunity he ever had. But it had succeeded, it was deserving of being his greatest fortune. Next was Hu Immortal Blessed Land. It had allowed Fang Yuan to have the foundation of a Gu Immortal despite being immortal, standing on the shoulder of a former Gu Immortal. After becoming an immortal zombie, it made up for his weakness in his aspect. It was because of this blessed land that Fang Yuan had ample foundation. The cultivation of Gu Immortals was not just about fighting and killing, economic management was the biggest foundation base. Third was Wisdom Gu. Using the light of wisdom, Fang Yuan gained unlimited inspiration, it rapidly pulled him out of his slump. But that was built on the blessed land and his own foundation. In the future, if he truly controlled it, it might bring Fang Yuan a pleasant surprise. But for now, it was third. The fourth was All-Out Effort Gu. Even though this mortal Gu was only rank 4, he obtained it at a very crucial moment. It was the first springboard since Fang Yuan's rebirth. Without All-Out Effort Gu, Fang Yuan would not have had such incredible battle strength. Without his battle strength, he would not have been able to participate in the Three Kings' inheritance. As for the Dream Path Killer move, if he obtained it, Fang Yuan would be able to use it well and the value would be equal to the current use of Wisdom Gu. After this time period, the value of Dream Path Killer moves would fall drastically. When Dream Realms undergo complete external manifestation, and Dream Path would be thriving all over, this killer move's value would fall beyond belief. The value of opportunities depended on the timing. Spring Autumn Cicada was very valuable, but if Fang Yuan became a demon venerable and was invincible in the world, why would he need it? This was also the case for Hu Immortal Blessed Land. If Fang Yuan obtained it after becoming a Gu Immortal and had his own healthy blessed land, the value he received from it would be far lower. The same logic applied to Wisdom Gu, All-Out Effort Gu, and this Dream Path Killer move. But I definitely need the core Immortal Gu, Unravel Mystery, to use this Dream Path Killer move, otherwise, all of this is empty talk. Fang Yuan looked at the auction again. At this moment, there were few competitors left. Feng Jiugu and old ancestor Shui who were out of the competition. These two had spent a great amount to buy Ma and Zhao, their foundations were shaken and they no longer were able to compete. Yao Huang had backed out regrettably as well. He had purchased some Refinement Path Immortal Gu, as well as many Gu Immortal captives. With the huge resource consumption of Refinement Path, all sorts of restrictions forced him to back out. 5 Elements Grandmaster had stopped long ago, he had bought many Immortal Gu of the mainstream paths, and he was also a lone cultivator. The last ones remaining were Heavenly Lord Baizu, the Eastern Sea Rank 8 Gu Immortal, and 3 super forces. They were Yuan Tribe, Murong Tribe, and Chanyu Tribe. Explore new Uvels on N. Velbai.com. Soon, Chanyu Tribe left the competition as well. Even though Yuan Tribe's Yuan Rangzun was screaming that he wanted to sell all of the true martial carps away, he could not make up his mind. After all, Yuan Tribe already had their own immortal Gu house. Thus, only Murong Tribe, the Eastern Sea Gu Immortal, and Heavenly Lord Baizu were left. Murong Jin Xiao, my force has no immortal Gu house to defend it. This is very dangerous. If you can let go today, I will definitely compensate you well. In the secret room, the Eastern Sea Gu Immortal urged. Murong Jin Xiao shook his head, paying respects as he smiled. Lord, my Murong tribe's immortal Gu house is lacking a core immortal Gu, everyone in Northern Plains know that. This matter involves huge benefits for my tribe, please forgive me for my insolence, I want to fight for it, whether it ends in success or failure, I do not want to be resigned. The Eastern Sea Gu Immortal sighed faintly, he no longer said anything apart from raising the bid. It seems that I still have some hope. The price was already at 2 immortal Gu, it had far exceeded the value of 4 Gu immortal captives, but Fang Yuan's gaze was becoming more excited. Even though the Red Fiend Divine Boat is good, no core immortal Gu are being sold. The immortal Gu that the 3 of them are offering are rank 6, they have little use. 2 immortal Gu are the limit, those 3 are already thinking hard, their bids are increasing very slowly. After all, even if they obtain this Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe, it only involves the entirety of the immortal Gu recipes, they still needed to spend a huge sum refining the Gu. The seller is a woodpath cultivator, he wants resources useful to his cultivation. Among these 6 immortal Gu, only one is woodpath, it comes from Murong tribe, but it is an investigative immortal Gu. Hehe, this is great. Forget about the last Gu immortal, Rushing Thunder Hand Wu Hao, that I still have, but the 3 Hua Hai immortals are woodpath Gu immortals, I can make good use of this situation in a plan. Fang Yuan moved quickly, he immediately informed Qin Baisheng and contacted Heavenly Lord Baizu. The 3 parties are in a stalemate now, I do not have a woodpath immortal Gu, and Murong tribe has the greatest chance now, maybe I can use this to break the stalemate. Heavenly Lord Baizu was moved, he changed his bid, he first took down Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu and put up the 3 Hua Hai Immortals. The seller's eyes brightened, he hesitated for a bit before choosing Heavenly Lord Baizu. He was an astute person. To him, even though the other 2 sides had an additional immortal Gu, only one of them had a wood path immortal Gu. But in Heavenly Lord Baizu's bid, there was a movement immortal Gu and 3 wood path immortal apertures, he could swallow them and gain a huge boost in cultivation level. He sold the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe, he had already offended Zombie Alliance, his current concerns were to protect his life and develop in secret. What suited himself had the greatest value. Heavenly Lord Baizu did not have any interest in the 3 Hua Hai immortals, but the seller needed them urgently. As for Heavenly Lord Baizu, he did not make any losses, he still paid a price of 2 immortal Gu. Since he had already decided to give up Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu, did it matter who it ended up with? Selling it to Fang Yuan, he broke the stalemate and obtained the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe. As for Fang Yuan, he finally obtained Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu. This is a mutual win for 3 parties. Ha ha ha. He laughed heartily. Chapter 764, Actions of All Parties. Heavenly Lord Baizu became the final winner of the intense bidding war, obtaining the complete recipe for Red Fiend Divine Boat. And the beneficiary of the backdoor deal, Fang Yuan, also successfully obtained Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu. Fang Yuan was very satisfied with this transaction. Heavenly Lord Baizu became the focal point of everyone's attention, and apart from a few related people, no one knew Unravel Mystery Immortal Gu had landed in Fong Yuan's hands. Red Fiend Divine Boat's recipe could be considered as an unexpected final climactic moment of the auction. Time passed. 4 hours later, this auction, which included various outstanding people, finally ended. There is still no reply from Fairy Li Shan's end. Fong Yuan secretly asked Tai Bai Yunsheng. Tai Bai Yunsheng quickly sent his message, nothing until now. Fairy Li Shan actually missed such a grand event. It seems there is definitely some issue on her end. Do we return through the previous route? Fong Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng came to Qin Baisheng's blessed land through the whole Earth Gu established between Qin Baisheng and Fairy Li Shan. Now, the situation on Fairy Li Shan's end was unclear, and rashly using whole Earth Gu to return was undoubtedly an unwise move. No, we will first leave along with the others, then use fixed immortal travel. We need to be careful, though, there will definitely be turmoil soon. Fong Yuan reminded. Tai Bai Yunsheng nodded with a serious expression. The auction might have ended, but there were sure to be many who were not satisfied with the results. With the end of the auction, the previous agreement signed by all parties would expire. Without the restriction, people's hearts and minds would be moved by wealth, robbery, extortion, and ambushes would be the next event. Most of the Gu immortals had the same thoughts as Fong Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng. Thus, they left the blessed land in a hurry and full of caution. We must get that guy. He actually dared to sell the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe openly. Our zombie alliance's face had been lost completely. We could let go if it was only our face, but the key thing is that the leader had repeatedly reminded us of the importance of this task before she left. But now, we have screwed up. When the leader comes back and hears the news, who knows how she will punish us. Explore new. Uvels on N. Velbai.com. Yin Lu Gong and Dragon Commander Yi Cha discussed as they looked at their target hurriedly leaving. In the sky above Crimson Reed Marsh. Heavenly Lord, I wonder if you are interested in selling the Red Fiend Divine Boat recipe to my Yao tribe? Yao Huang stayed behind and persuaded Heavenly Lord Baizu. Heavenly Lord Baizu chuckled, Lord Yao Huang is jesting, how can such a treasure be sold easily? I won't conceal it from you, I have a lot of descendants and they are filling up my grotto heaven. Recently, I have been planning to establish a tribe, perhaps we can have many opportunities to collaborate with Yao tribe. The leaders of various forces in the surroundings had changes in their expressions as they heard this. Heavenly Lord Baizu was a rank 8 powerhouse. A tribe he established, with his support, was certain to thrive. Not only this, with the support of a rank 8 Gu immortal, even if the new tribe's foundation was lacking, it would still be a super force. Northern Plains was Giant Sun Immortal Venerable's homeland, the place where he rose up and established a hereditary monarchy. For a long time up to now, the super forces in Northern Plains were almost all of Huang Jin bloodline. Heavenly Lord Baizu was trying to poke his nose into this by establishing a super force, which no doubt was going to create an enormous impact on those Huang Jin descendants. At the same time, with the lone cultivator, Heavenly Lord Baizu, becoming the first supreme elder of a righteous path force, it would have huge impacts on both the demonic path and lone cultivator camps. Yao Huang's smile became even brighter, since Heavenly Lord has such an intention, who could stop you in this huge world? It is very difficult for us old fellows to gather together, no time is better than the present, how about we have a chat today? This is also what I wanted to say. Heavenly Lord Baizu laughed heartily. Yao Huang opened up his immortal Gu house, Medicine Cottage, and invited all the Gu immortals present to join. Most of the super forces entered in the end, including 5 Elements Grandmaster, who represented the benefits of lone cultivators. However, Old Ancestor Shui refused. In this auction, Old Ancestor Shui, who had invested a lot to buy Ma Hongyun, as well as precious contents of the essence of the luck path true inheritance. What he most wanted to do now was to use Ma Hong Yun as the primary material in refining fortune rivaling heaven and use its effects on himself. The person representing Prince Feng Xian's will, Feng Gu, who had disguised himself as Swordmaster Yulan, also refused this gathering and left on his own. In a hidden area among the reeds, he quietly met with the Central Continent Gu immortals. "I have sent you the message regarding the auction." Feng Gu looked at everyone with a smile. "Lord Gu made a really good move, such courage, I am in admiration. With Zhao Lianyun, we can search her soul and find many precious clues regarding the main culprit of the Imperial Court incident. I still have to thank Lord for trading a suitable immortal Gu for me. What should our actions be next?" The Central Continent Gu immortals talked one after the other, clearly treating Feng Gu as their leader. Feng Gu smiled. In this trip, he first used his tyrannical strength to subdue everyone, and now he had taken the risk to enter the tiger's den and trade immortal Gu for them. Through Feng Ji's methods and charisma, a stick in one hand and a carrot in the other, he was finally able to lead this group of experts. Of course, Feng Gu knew that behind this harmonious atmosphere, everyone still had their own thoughts. It was only that all the experts were astute, now that they were in northern plains with a heavy mission on their shoulders. Even if they had any hidden thoughts, they suppressed it deep within themselves for the time being, choosing to sincerely cooperate. To Feng Gu, this was enough. "Everyone, although we obtained Zhao Lianyun, the clues available to verify the true culprit are probably not enough. If there were enough clues, Northern Plains Gu immortals would have already discovered the truth and the perpetrator would have nowhere to hide. However, I found someone who is suspicious," Feng Gu said. Everyone's spirits rose at hearing this information. Feng Gu continued, "But this person has hidden themselves too deeply. I never was able to find out their true identity. To find this person, we must start from the host of this auction." Lord is talking about Qin Baixing. He is a famous expert of Northern Plains, a rank 7 metal path Gu immortal. I also know of this person. He is a lone cultivator. Creating such an achievement today with just his own strength is truly rarely seen. Qin Baixing not only has outstanding strength, he also has many favorable social connections. If we are going against him, we need to use all our strength to strike as quickly as possible. If we let him escape and ask for assistance from his allies, the situation will turn for the worse. Everyone was discussing vigorously. They were the representatives of the 10 great ancient sects of Central Continent, powerful and with lot of methods, but they were fighting in enemy territory. Once their identities were exposed, it was likely that Northern Plains Gu immortals would band together to attack them. Fortunately, they still had Prince Feng Xian to aid them secretly. In another area, a fight had already started. "He Lang Zi, you really have guts, you actually dared to attack our Chanyu tribe." The Gu immortal who was ambushed shouted in fury. "Humph, what is there to not dare? So what if you are from Chanyu tribe? No matter how powerful the immortal killer move Winged Blade is, can it save you now? Just be obedient and hand over that sandalwood sacred elephant egg, and I shall let you go." A giant wolf, the size of a small hill, spoke with an eerie gaze, in a human voice. This egg came from the mysterious rank 8 Gu immortal of Eastern Sea. It had fallen into the hands of Chanyu tribe's representative at a certain point of the auction. He Lang Zi had left previously, but actually had other intentions. He carefully set up an ambush outside and waited for someone to fall into it, capturing this unlucky fellow. He Lang Zi, you have hidden your cards well. You actually have an informant in the auction. Didn't you call yourself a lone wolf, moving alone and disdaining interaction with other Gu immortals? Humph, if you have the guts, then place a stake against me in battle. If you win, I will immediately hand over this sandalwood sacred elephant egg to you. If you lose, then join our Chanyu tribe and serve for 100 years. the Chanyu tribe Gu immortal shouted. He had just spoken, when he heard the sound of a woman's laugh coming from nearby. A black light flashed, and 3 Gu immortals appeared. The Chanyu tribe Gu immortal was startled. The other party had approached this closely, but he did not notice in the slightest until they intentionally revealed themselves. You are He Cheng. The Chanyu tribe Gu immortal carefully observed and quickly recognized their identities, also Fairy Jiangyu. Why is Shuesong Zi of the demonic path with you? Chanyu Zhong Air, I know you have the immortal killer move, Immemorial Flame Axe. But thinking of using this move to battle He Lang Zi and recruit a rank 7 as a goon for your tribe is too naive. Fairy Jiangyu continued to smile. Chanyu Zhong'er's expression sank, as the other party had spoken accurately. It was because of this immortal killer move, Immemorial Flame Axe, that he had the confidence to participate in this auction as Chanyu tribe's representative. But who could have thought that he had still greatly underestimated human desire, and also overestimated Chanyu tribe's stature. He Cheng, you are a He tribe Gu immortal and are of Huang Jin bloodline, like my Chanyu tribe. But you are actually colluding with demonic path outsiders to harm us righteous path Gu immortals. Don't make such a huge mistake, it is still not too late to turn back. Chanyu Zhong'er thought rapidly and tried to persuade He Cheng. Shuesong Zi laughed loudly, if it was your big brother here, Chanyu Shang Yi, we would have a headache. If it was your younger brother, Chanyu Xia San, we would have dispelled any intention of ambush. Unfortunately, you don't have the defensive prowess of your big brother, neither do you have the speed of your younger brother, today your defeat is certain. Chanyu Zhong'er's expression became more unsightly, he stared fixedly at He Cheng and shouted, He Cheng, you are a righteous path Gu immortal, you built your reputation over so many years, do you not want it? If this matter were to be exposed or just a rumor of it is spread, you will be condemned by the public and hunted down like a rat. He Cheng's eyes flickered with hesitation, but Fairy Jiangyu transmitted him a message, making him firmly resolute. Without saying anything, he waved an arm, from which a dark arrow flew out, straight towards Chanyu Zhong'er. He used action to show his resolution. Snowy Mountain Blessed Land. Third Branch Peak. Jade green light shined and extinguished, Tai Bai Yun Sheng appeared in the room. At almost the same instant which he appeared, he activated his defensive killer move, 9 Cloud Ring. One of the disadvantages of fixed immortal travel was that other Gu worms could not be used during the process. Another disadvantage was that the amount of immortal essence consumed would depend on the strength of the target. Previously, Fang Yuan was still immortal with few Dao marks on his body, thus the immortal essence consumed was much lower. However, when transporting a Gu immortal, the minimum consumption was at least 1 bead of green grape immortal essence. After finding no dangers, Fang Yuan came out of Tai Bai Yun Sheng's immortal aperture. This room was the place where Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan had met with them previously. There has been no response from either Fairy Li Shan or He Lu Lan. In accordance with the alliance, we must look into this. The most probable place is here. Shortly, the two found Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan in a bedroom. They are lying on the bed, sleeping. Tai Bai Yun Sheng was dazed. He was about to walk closer but was stopped by Fang Yuan. Don't approach them, it is dangerous. What danger? Fang Yuan's eyes let out a sharp light, they are in a dream realm. If we approach them, we will also be ensnared. Chapter 765, Qin Baixing vs Feng Jiugu. Dream Realm. Tai Bai Yun Sheng heard Fang Yuan's words and his gaze flickered, he showed a grim expression. Earlier, when Fang Yuan and He Lu Lan collaborated to explore Starry Sky Grotto Heaven, he had met with danger in a dream realm of star constellation Immortal Venerable. Fang Yuan had explained this matter briefly to Tai Bai Yun Sheng. Thus, when Tai Bai Yun Sheng heard the term dream realm, he knew the severity of the situation. He sighed, no wonder Fairy Li Shan and He Lu Lan did not attend the auction, they were trapped in a dream realm. I had been guessing earlier if He Lu Lan's tribulation was causing them trouble. Fang Yuan nodded, Old Bai, you guessed correctly. Most likely, the tribulation caused them to be stuck in a dream realm, unable to free themselves. When Gu immortals undergo tribulation, there can be dream realm calamities. Tai Bai Yunxing asked in suspicion. Fang Yuan sighed, not in the past, but now that dream realms have manifested, such calamities and tribulations have appeared gradually. Especially in the 500 years of his previous life, towards the second half of the Five Regions' chaotic war, dream realms manifested on a large scale, showing up in all corners of the Five Regions. The phenomenon of dream realms becoming tribulations also became more frequent, countless Gu immortals were harmed in the process. What do we do now? According to the Snowy Mountain Alliance, we cannot abandon them. Tai Bai Yunsheng was helpless, he asked Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan was silent, his eyes were shining with a murky light. At this moment, He Lu Lan and Fairy Li Shan had little to no defenses, it was not hard to kill them now. But because of the alliance agreement, Fang Yuan could not attack them, he even had to save them. The Snowy Mountain Alliance was made using Mountain Pledge Gu, if I want to break it, I will need to destroy Snowy Mountain. Unfortunately, I do not have enough strength now, it will be hard to do so. Even if I could destroy it, Tai Bai Yunsheng is too kind, he might be an obstacle if I try to attack them. Fang Yuan felt some regret. This indeed was a golden opportunity. By killing He Lu Lan, he would obtain Strength Qi Immortal Gu, Self-Strength Immortal Gu, Flying Bear Strength Gu, and Slavery Immortal Gu. The first three were Strength Path Immortal Gu, while the last one was Enslavement Path. They all suited Fang Yuan very well. Especially Self-Strength Immortal Gu, if he obtained it, he could use it as the core and elevate the power of the Immortal Killer move Myriad Self by several levels. As for Fairy Li Shan's Mountain Pledge Gu, with it, Fang Yuan would have the same advantage as Fairy Li Shan. Helping other Gu immortals make agreements, this was an extremely popular service, the benefits could surpass the Guts Gu trade. That was because using Mountain Pledge Gu to make agreements for others not only was highly profitable, he could also establish connections. Fairy Li Shan was able to mingle in both the righteous and demonic paths, a lot of that was due to this Immortal Gu. Mountain Pledge Gu was not an attack-type Immortal Gu, it could not provide defense or movement abilities to the Gu Immortal. But whoever held it will gain a huge advantage. It was only an assistance-type Immortal Gu, but Gu Immortals were not only concerned about fighting and killing. Gu Immortals placed emphasis cultivation, management were their biggest priority. Realistically, fighting was just a small portion of a Gu Immortal's life. Only with the Five Regions' chaotic war would fighting become the general focus. Just as Fang Yuan was pondering, Snowy Mountain Blessed Land shook. A rank 8 Gu Immortal's immense aura emanated and filled the surroundings. We welcome Old Ancestor's arrival. Soon, several demonic path Gu Immortals spoke from their respective mountain peaks. It is Old Ancestor Shui Hu. He has his own grotto heaven, he almost never comes here, why is he here now? Tai Bai Yunsheng's expression changed. The moment he said that, he heard Old Ancestor Shui Hu's voice, resonating through the blessed land, all of you, come to the main hall and see me now, I have an important matter to discuss with everyone. As you command, Old Ancestor. The demonic path Gu Immortals shouted in unison. Figures of Gu Immortals rapidly flew out from the mountain peaks. Tai Bai Yunsheng's expression paled, he said, oh no, Fairy Li Shan is still in a dream. If she does not appear or say anything, Old Ancestor Shui Hu will definitely get suspicious and come here to check. We can escape with fixed immortal travel, and Fairy Li Shan would not be attacked. But He Lu Lan is the problem, she is not a member of Snowy Mountain and is a key character who has experienced the True Yang building incident. Once she is captured and has her soul searched, we are all doomed. Bam bam bam. While an intense explosion sounded out, a pathetic figure was fleeing rapidly. Behind him, there was a huge wolf sprinting out of the smoke, opening its bloodthirsty mouth and speaking a human language. Chan Yuzhong Air, where are you trying to escape to? The pathetic figure was Chan Yuzhong Air. He continued to escape as he yelled with a panicked expression, He Lang Zi, hey Cheng, don't go too far, otherwise, I will drag you guys down with me. Immemorial flame axe. His body shuddered, put his palms together as he turned around, exerting a chopping motion with them. Immediately, fire rose as they gathered to form an axe in midair, attacking the huge wolf. Before the attack even landed, the scorching flames already burned some of the wolf's fur. The huge fiery axe caused the surrounding sky to glow red. It was powerful and carried an aura of destruction with it, as if it could rampage to kill innumerable beings. This was an immortal killer move, it had incredible offensive power. But facing such a powerful attack, He Lang Zi's gaze shined with disdain and mockery. Swoosh! The huge wolf vanished, evading the immemorial flame axe and blocking Chan Yuzhong Air's escape route. No matter how fierce the attack, what good is it if you cannot hit? Fairy Jiangyu appeared, floating in the air. She had taken action just now, teleporting He Lang Zi away using an immortal movement killer move. Damn! Chan Yuzhong Air gritted his teeth, his heart sank as his angry and helpless face showed a hint of despair. You are distracted. Suddenly, a black-robed Gu immortal appeared behind him. Chan Yuzhong Air was shocked, quickly retreating as he created some distance. The mysterious Gu immortal remained on the spot, stretching out his right arm while his palm was aimed at Chan Yuzhong Air. This distance is enough, now, have a taste of my soul suction immortal Gu's power. Chan Yuzhong Air's movements froze, his body turned stiff as his soul shook, it was like there was a huge force trying to pull his soul out of his body. Oh no! Chan Yuzhong Air was shocked, ordinary defensive measures could not defend against such soul path methods. He tried to stabilize his soul, momentarily going into a deadlock with the mysterious black-robed Gu immortal. Quickly assist me. The black-robed Gu immortal said. The moment he said that, He Cheng and Shuesong Zi flew towards him, placing their arms on his shoulders. By surreptitiously using some Gu worms, all three of their souls worked together and formed an even greater force. Soul suction immortal Gu was used in this way, it was like drawing in a river, disregarding all other aspects, it was a direct contest between souls. At this moment, the black-robed Gu immortal, He Cheng, Shuesong Zi collaborated, they had a huge advantage against Chan Yuzhong Air. I am unresigned. I am full of hatred, let me go. Chan Yuzhong Air was unable to resist them, his soul was pulled out eventually. Without his soul to control it, his body fell downwards from the air rapidly, like a puppet with its strings cut. But soon after, Fairy Jiangyu caught it. She searched it and laughed, as expected, this fire path immortal Gu is in Chan Yuzhong Air's blessed land. So your real motive was my fire path immortal Gu. What do you guys actually want? Chan Yuzhong Air's soul was held by the black-robed Gu immortal, he continued to shout furiously. No, we did not lie to you. The sandalwood sacred elephant egg was also our target. But compared to the immortal Gu, it is like the icing on the cake. Fairy Jiangyu smiled. Their scheme had succeeded, her mood was great, but just as she was about to continue speaking, her expression changed. Not only her, at the same time, even the black-robed Gu immortal's hands shook. He was wearing a black robe, his head was covered by a huge hood, his face was shrouded in darkness, he said with a hoarse voice, Qin Bai Sheng was ambushed, So this swordmaster Yulan is an impostor, a Gu immortal from Central Continent. Qin Bai Sheng cannot be lost, quickly go and save him. Fairy Jiangyu said anxiously, soaring away without any hesitation or pause. The black-robed Gu immortal and He Lang Zi followed suit. Only He Cheng and Xue Song Zi were left. Explore. Todd. TE Stories at no slash. L//bin. C. M. Lord He Cheng, do we follow? Xue Song Zi was hesitant. He Cheng looked at the black-robed Gu immortal and felt a lot of wariness. Not long ago, this person had appeared, showcasing many different methods. He had great power and had an extraordinary relation to fairy Jiangyu. Xue Song Zi was hesitant, but was he, He Cheng, any different? It seems that this black-robed Gu immortal is also a member of Shadow Sect. He Lang Zi might be the same as us, being a collaborator. Shadow Sect, and Central Continent's Gu immortals. He Cheng's gaze flickered, his body flew up in pursuit of fairy Jiangyu and the others. Xue Song Zi snorted coldly, he quickly followed them. Huff huff huff. Qin Baixing breathed roughly. There were dozens of wounds on him, some were bleeding, some were so deep one could see bones, some of his skin had turned black, emitting a foul odor. As expected of a famous expert of Northern Plains, we attacked together and ambushed you, but you still managed to heavily injure 3 of us. Feng Jiugu crossed his arms as he watched, praising with a gaze of admiration. Northern Plains Gu immortals truly have excellent battle strength. Your methods and ours seem to have little discrepancy, yet you manage to make such great battle results. Qin Baisheng, you are an outstanding person, give up and surrender. Our words earlier were truthful. As long as you tell us some people's identities, we will let you leave. There were Central Continent Gu immortals all around Qin Baisheng. They opened their mouths as they urged him. Among them, Fairy Ling Mei and Fairy Ao Shui of Heaven's Envy Manor, as well as a young-looking Gu immortal, Old Oracle from Ancient Soul Sect, were quite heavily injured. You want me to surrender? Qin Baixing raised his eyebrows, spitting out a mouthful of bloody saliva. Bah! Outsiders from another region infiltrating us in Northern Plains. Intruders. I'm tell you, we of Northern Plains are not cowards. Come at me if you have the guts, don't worry, before I die, I will certainly drag one of you down with me. Feng Jiugu sighed helplessly, in that case, the rest of you can stand down, I will handle it myself. Qin Baixing's gaze was heavy as he stared at Feng Jiugu. He did not know who Feng Jiugu was, but he knew that he was the leader. During the battle earlier, he did not participate, he stood aloof. I will only use one move, if you can take it, I will let you leave. Feng Jiugu flew towards Qin Baixing slowly, his expression was calm as he spoke lightly. Chapter 766, Immortal Gu Compensation. One move. Hearing Feng Jiuji's words, Qin Baixing laughed with a provoked tone. I have roamed the region freely for hundreds of years. I defeated Lu Hao, Chan Yuxiong, New Air Du, killed by Chan Zi, Jade Fire Farmer, Mountain Lord Tian Qin, had a draw with Yuan Rangzun, and managed to escape with my life from 5 Elements Grandmaster. In the entirety of Northern Plains, only the 5 rank 8 Gu immortals can defeat me easily. But to kill me, even they would not find it easy. There are very few rank 7 Gu immortals that can rival me. You are also a rank 7 Gu immortal, you want to defeat me in one move. Ha ha ha. Qin Baixing laughed loudly, his laughter was filled with great confidence towards himself. Feng Jiuji's words indeed were greatly arrogant. At once, even the Central Continent Gu immortals around him were starting to get worried. Feng Jiugu smiled lightly, he slowly narrated, when I was young, I loved music, when I started cultivating, I had a grand aspiration, that was to create a total of 9 songs, to express myself, to express all living beings, and to express heaven and earth. Up to this point, I have created 6 songs in total. If you can finish listening to this song of mine, then I will admit defeat and let you leave. Qin Baixing's laughter gradually came to an end, he had a serious gaze as he stared at Feng Jiugu unblinkingly. Looking at Feng Gu, who had an earnest tone and a smiling face, Qin Baixing felt an immense threat deep within himself. He thought for a moment and greeted Feng Gu solemnly, "I have not asked for your name yet." Feng Gu greeted back, "I am Feng Gu." Qin Baixing's expression changed, "So you are the number one person of Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects, no wonder. Ha ha ha, in that case, let me see what you can do." Feng Jiu's fighting prowess had long since been famous, even to a Northern Plains Gu immortal like Qin Baixing, the name and reputation were instantly recognizable. But after learning about Feng Jiu's identity, Qin Baixing instead felt an immeasurable surge of battle intent within himself. "We are both rank 7 Gu immortal, what qualifications do you have to defeat the other Gu immortals in the 10 great ancient sects and become known as the strongest? I will see how strong you truly are." Feng Gu breathed in deeply, bowing slightly. "This song is known as Green Jade Song, please enjoy it." The rest of the Central Continent Gu immortals backed off and created a wide open space for them. "Come!" Qin Baixing shouted, his gaze was like lightning as his battle intent rushed out, he was oozing with grandeur. Snowy mountain blessed land. Third branch peak. Just now, this lucky escape was truly thanks to you. If old ancestor Shuehu found out, even I would not be able to preserve Little Land's life. In the secret room, Fairy Li Shan spoke to Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng, expressing her gratitude. He Lu Lan was a crucial person in the collapse of Tru Yang building, she was more important than Ma Hongyun and Zhao Lianyun. Once she was discovered, the entire world of Gu immortals would hunt her down. The situation was really dangerous, we were trying to guess why you missed the auction. Tai Bai Yunxing said while sighing. If He Lu Lan was discovered, Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunsheng would be involved as well, the three of them were tied together on a string. Oh! Fairy Li Shan sighed, I did not think that a dream realm could become a calamity. Do you have any ways to save Little Lan? Tai Bai Yunxing shook his head, looking at Fang Yuan who was beside him. Fang Yuan said solemnly, it's difficult. The dream calamity's target is He Lu Lan, Fairy Li Shan, you were only pulled in because you touched her. Thus, I just had to hurt you and make you feel pain. But He Lu Lan is deep inside the dream realm, even if you kill her, she will not awaken. Fairy Li Shan's eyes shined with hope, it's only difficult, that does not mean it is impossible, Fang Yuan, it seems you have a plan. Fang Yuan chuckled, He Lu Lan is fortunate, I obtained a Gu in the auction that can form a dream path killer move to resolve this problem. But to form the killer move, the core immortal Gu is not enough, I need the assistance of many mortal Gu. Fairy Li Shan was overjoyed, saying, I can help with that, what refinement materials do you need to refine Gu, just tell me, I can satisfy that request. But Fang Yuan shook his head, these dream path mortal Gu refinement materials can only be found in dream realms. Refining dream path Gu is different from other paths, the entire process needs me to execute it personally. So dream path has such specifications. Fairy Li Shan blinked, this was the first time she had heard such news. Dream path Gu worms were different from Gu worms in other paths. One of the points was the refinement material, they were not material objects, they were obtained from inside dream realms. And the dream realm could only be of one's own dream, not others. Only the materials from one's own dream realm could refine these dream path Gu worms. Fang Yuan had his previous life's memories, even though he developed slowly in dream path and had limited achievement, he still knew common knowledge like this. Currently, what was his common knowledge was now the most top-tier research results, the few forces treated them as their own treasures, sealing all the knowledge deeply. Because of the Snowy Mountain Alliance, Fairy Li Shan did not doubt Fang Yuan's words. But deep inside, she saw Fang Yuan in a different light again. She knew some parts of Fang Yuan's experiences and circumstances, especially the Guts Gu trade, she obtained part of the profits. Fang Yuan is truly an impressive junior, it is almost as if he has a method to solve any problem. Earlier, he developed the air sac Gu to hold the guts Gu. Now, he even has such research in Dream Path. This is not something a lone cultivator can come up with, it seems his background is not simple after all. Fairy Li Shan was thinking over it when Fang Yuan spoke again. Fairy, you know that my nature is straightforward, I like to talk openly and not beat about the bush. If I can save you both, what compensation will I get? Fairy Li Shan's eyes rolled, she was long since familiar with Fang Yuan's personality, she was not surprised, she smiled, the favor of saving a life is as heavy as a mountain. Fang Yuan, how many immortal essence stones or immortal Gu recipes do you want, or even immortal materials, just tell me. Her tone was very courteous, after all, she was requesting his help. Fang Yuan raised his head, I do not want anything else, what I have in mind is He Lu Lan's self-strength Gu and strength Qi Gu. 2 lives for 2 Gu. Fairy Li Shan's smile vanished without a trace, these 2 immortal Gu are Little Lan's core Gu worms. A gentleman would not take what others love, Fang Yuan, this condition is a little too harsh. Fang Yuan raised his eyebrows, are both of your lives not even as valuable as 2 Gu worms? That is not accurate. Fairy Li Shan shook her head, even if we were discovered, only Little Lan would be in danger, I would be fine. In fact, when Little Lan gets into trouble, you too would be implicated too. We are on the same boat now, helping us is also the same as helping yourselves. Fang Yuan smiled, nodding in agreement, Fairy makes perfect sense, I am full of admiration. Forget my previous condition, I will go prepare now. I promise you, within 3 to 5 years, I can surely save He Lu Lan. I have to go now. Saying this, Fang Yuan stood up and was ready to leave. Although the two had an agreement, and he could not leave her in the lurch, they also made rules such that one side could not force the other to save them using the agreement, they had to come up with an appropriate arrangement regarding compensation. Fang Yuan was not abandoning her, he was just taking a bit of time, thus, his actions were not against the alliance agreement. Fairy Li Shan felt a huge headache, she stood up and urged him, wait, Fang Yuan, we can discuss this. What does Fairy have to enlighten me with? I am all ears. Fang Yuan's attitude was very modest, he spoke very humbly. Oh, Fang Yuan, don't act like this. These 2 strength path immortal Gu do not belong to me, I cannot promise you anything. Fairy Li Shan sighed deeply as she said this. Fang Yuan showed an understanding expression, that's right, I find this condition overboard too, pretend I never said it. Fairy is right, self-strength and strength Qi are very important immortal Gu to He Lu Lan, how can you decide for her? Never mind, we are allies, I will definitely help her. But you need to know, refining Dream Path Gu worms is very troublesome because it takes a long time and I need to do a lot of preparation. During this period of time, Fairy can try to find other ways to save He Lu Lan. Although my method will definitely succeed, it will take a long time. In this time period, if He Lu Lan is discovered by others, that would be bad. But thankfully, Tai Bai Yunsheng and I are in Central Continent, even if anything happens to He Lu Lan, we will act as good allies and avenge her. Visit no. v. 3lb/n.c. M for new. OV. L. These words made Fairy Li Shan roll her eyes in anger. Tai Bai Yunsheng was laughing madly deep in his mind, he did not forget to add in, speaking of the alliance, we have about 2 years left. Once the time is up, and He Lu Lan is still unconscious, how would we continue the agreement? Oh, this is a troublesome matter. Tai Bai Yunsheng was a kind person, but when it came to key benefits, he had a firm attitude, he was not a pushover. You too. Fairy Li Shan was furious. He Lu Lan's identity was a secret, even though He Qing knew, he had his own motives and would not dare to expose He Lu Lan's identity. But because of this, Fairy Li Shan could not find helpers easily. Regarding Dream Path, most of the super forces had done their research and obtained some results, but they would not give it to Fairy Li Shan to save He Lu Lan. Thus, for the problem Fairy Li Shan was facing, the most likely possibility with an effective method was to rely on Fang Yuan. Regarding all of this, Fairy Li Shan was deeply aware. Seeing that Fang Yuan was unwilling to relent, she had no better option but to take a step back, breathing in deeply before saying, "Never mind, maybe we simply had bad luck. I will do it your way, Tu Immortal Gu. But you can only pick either one of self-strength and strength chi. I can take responsibility for this much in regards to Little Lan. The other Immortal Gu will be provided by me. I'll speak the truth, this is my limit, don't force me any further." Tai Bai Yunsheng was moved, gasping, He Lu Lan is truly blessed to have Fairy as her aunt. Fairy Li Shan smiled bitterly, looking at Fang Yuan. She knew that although Tai Bai Yunsheng was Fang Yuan's senior brother, Fang Yuan was the leader between them. To save He Lu Lan, she needed Fang Yuan to help. Fang Yuan thought about it. He knew that although he could continue forcing her, that would cause their relationship to be greatly damaged. The amicable atmosphere that he had created earlier by splitting the profits with them would be completely ruined. Although self-strength and strength chi were two excellent gu, Fang Yuan had obtained several strength path immortal gu, he no longer had such an urgent need for them. Alright, I will listen to Fairy. I have always been interested in Fairy's mountain pledge gu. Fang Yuan spoke with a smile. Chapter 767, Immortal Gu Time Luck. What, you want mountain pledge gu? Fairy Li Shan stared with wide-opened eyes, her expression was furious. Mountain pledge immortal gu was extremely important, it was Fairy Li Shan's source of revenue. The saying goes, ruining a person's wealth is akin to killing their parents, it would mean deep hatred. Not only this, Mountain Pledge Immortal Gu was the reason why Fairy Li Shan could make connections everywhere and work with Gu immortals from the righteous and demonic paths in northern plains without much trouble. Once she lost Mountain Pledge Gu, Fairy Li Shan's advantage would disappear. Fang Yuan laughed, waving his hand, "It is a joke, don't mind it." Of course he knew of the importance of Mountain Pledge Immortal Gu, he was only probing her just now, he did not think he would succeed. Fairy Li Shan gritted her teeth, her tone turning cold. Fang Yuan, that joke was not funny at all. I have several immortal gu here, pick one of them as the compensation. As for the other half, Little Lan will pass it to you when she wakes up. Fang Yuan was originally thinking about He Lu Lan's slavery immortal gu. But after seeing Fairy Li Shan's immortal gu, his eyes shined as he changed his mind. This immortal gu is not bad, I will choose it. Fairy Li Shan saw the immortal gu that Fang Yuan picked and she sighed in her mind, filled with a bitter feeling deep inside. She had just obtained this immortal gu, she had not even used it yet and Fang Yuan was already taking it away. This gu's name was Time Luck, it was a luck path and time path immortal gu, it consumed immortal essence and time to gain a boost in one's luck. Fairy Li Shan was very reluctant, she tried to explain to him, Fang Yuan, if you really want to choose this gu, I have some words for you. I obtained this time luck immortal gu as the payment from Qin Baisheng. If ordinary gu immortals use this gu, they will need to expend their own lifespan. But you are a zombie, in a half-dead state, you cannot use this gu. You might as well choose another gu. Oh. So that's it. Fang Yuan's showed some interest in his gaze. When gu immortals cultivate, they gained no lifespan during the process. In this world, ordinary people had approximately 100 years of lifespan. They would die of old age when they exceeded that. When gu masters became immortals, this time limit would not change. Only by using lifespan gu could they increase their lifespan without leaving behind any backlash. Other than that, there were methods like turning into a zombie, treatment, or the Yin-Yang life extension method, possession, or to sleep for most of the time to reduce their expenditure, but these were all suboptimal methods that went against nature to extend their lifespan. Because of this, Gu immortals treasured their lifespan more than Gu masters. When Qin Baixing held this auction, almost all of the heroes and experts in Northern Plains Gu immortal world showed up. But even so, no lifespan Gu were sold. In contrast, in auctions held by mortal Gu masters, there were lifespan Gu sold occasionally. This was understandable. When Gu masters become immortals, they naturally would understand the difficulty of cultivating. It was not easy to become a Gu immortal. They would even more treasure this feeling of being above mortal concerns, having such a high status and standard of living. As a result, they treasured their lives, often roaming the 5 regions. Unless there was a need, they likely would not live inside their grotto heaven or blessed land. Because the time flow in the grotto heaven or blessed land was faster, a Gu immortal's limited lifespan would be expended even more quickly than if they were in the 5 regions. Mortal Gu masters did not know how precious lifespan was. They would often use some forbidden techniques that expended their lifespan, to raise their battle strength. The higher the rank one reaches, the broader their horizons, the more they treasured their life, and they would try all sorts of ways to extend their lifespan. For example, like First Gen Gu Yu, and Century Boy. Such situations, in regards to Gu immortals, were much more severe. This was like the contrast of rich and poor people. Ordinary people were busy trying to earn a living, they disregarded their health. Rich people, however, treasured their lives and paid great attention to sustaining their health. At the end of the day, it was not that rich people were superior to poor people, it was because of their circumstances and statuses that they could act and think differently. Fairy Li Shan was obviously a Gu immortal. Time Luck Immortal Gu expended immortal essence and lifespan to boost the user's luck. Since she took it, she naturally had a way to make up for this flaw. Fang Yuan was a shrewd person, he immediately guessed that Fairy Li Shan had such a crucial method. Fairy Li Shan saw that Fang Yuan was looking at her with shining eyes, she knew that she could not hide it and said helplessly, "I will not hide it from you, I have a method to use Time Luck Immortal Gu as the core, to form an immortal killer move. It can draw upon another person's lifespan, expending it and amplify one's own luck." Fang Yuan had suffered at the hands of Luck Path before, but he had also benefited greatly from Luck Path. He immediately asked, "I wonder if Fairy may sell this immortal killer move to me?" "Don't even think about it." Fairy Li Shan replied extremely quickly. Upstata T from N0/V/LBN/.co/M. Fang Yuan knew this would happen, he was not upset, he laughed instead, "That being the case, I still want this immortal Gu." Fairy Li Shan's expression turned cold. "Fang Yuan, are you trying to ruin my plans?" "I would not dare to." Fang Yuan's expression turned solemn, he said with sincerity, explaining, "Even if you did not have this killer move, I would still choose this immortal Gu. The reason is solely because I obtained an improved mortal Gu recipe of Inch of Time. Time Luck Immortal Gu needs an immortal killer move and time to activate. If I use Inch of Time, I might be able to replace it as the expenditure and prevent my lifespan from being affected." "Is that so?" Fairy Li Shan was stunned, she did not know this. Tai Bai Yunxing chuckled, explaining for Fang Yuan, "When we bought this Gu recipe, we did not think that Fairy would have Time Luck Immortal Gu. It seems that we can fortunately coordinate them together." Regarding this matter, Tai Bai Yunxing had the right to speak. He was a Time Path Gu immortal, Time Luck Immortal Gu and Inch of Time were both Time Path Gu worms. Since he had the feeling and predicted that these 2 Gu worms could coordinate, then that was probably going to work. Fairy Li Shan's expression relaxed, but her tone was still stiff. "Even in that case, to think of a brand new immortal killer move using Time Luck Immortal Gu and Inch of Time as the foundation will be a huge project. Why don't you leave the Time Luck Immortal Gu with me first, and I will use the immortal killer move to improve your luck, isn't that a better result?" Fang Yuan laughed heartily, immediately replying, "Precisely because you have the immortal killer move, we thought about the method to use time luck and inch of time. We can also lend the time luck immortal Gu to you, fairy. At that point, you can activate the immortal killer move and improve our luck, that works the same." Fairy Li Shan's expression froze. She thought, "Immortal Gu are unique, if time luck immortal Gu is in your hands, you hold the initiative. Who knows what will happen in the future? The Snowy Mountain Alliance has a time limit, whether we continue it or not is unknown. If we become enemies, would you lend the time luck immortal Gu to me?" As Fairy Li Shan thought of this, she understood. Wasn't her worry exactly what Fang Yuan was concerned about? If time luck immortal Gu was in her hands, and she had the immortal killer move, she would hold the initiative. In the future, if the alliance expired, even if she helped Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunxing improve their luck, wouldn't she be the one deciding on the price? Fang Yuan, this lad is tough to deal with. Fairy Li Shan gritted her teeth secretly, regretting her decision to take out time luck immortal Gu. Her plan was to use time luck immortal Gu and this immortal killer move to create a new source of revenue. Improving the luck of other Gu immortals would definitely be a popular service. But He Lu Lan was stuck in the dream realm, and Fairy Li Shan needed their help. Since she was unwilling to allow both Strength Path Immortal Gu to fall into Fang Yuan's hands, she was in a passive spot. Even though Fairy Li Shan had a huge network, He Lu Lan's identity could not be exposed, she could only rely on Fang Yuan's help, thus he had her firmly in his grasp. Fang Yuan saw the chance and extorted her. This was a ruthless blow, he struck at the crucial part and bit off a huge chunk of flesh. Forget about it. With Fang Yuan's craftiness, if I did not take out time luck immortal Gu, he might not want the other immortal Gu. Even if he wanted both Strength Path immortal Gu, what could I do? Can I let little Lan remain in the dream realm forever? Little sister left behind a familial emotion along with a large amount of green grape immortal essence, they are still in little Lan's immortal aperture. That was the reason why little Lan was able to use immortal Gu when she was immortal. However, with this dream realm calamity, the familial emotion has instead made it even stronger. With such a close relationship, the dream realm cannot be broken, it is grasping little Lan tightly and preventing her from escaping. As time passes, her soul might disappear. Fairy Li Shan sighed, Fang Yuan was her only hope now. She was an astute person, she had her own plans and did not expose He Lu Lan's secret of having Su Xian Heir's familial emotion. She did not lie, she just hid it from them. In the future, even if Fang Yuan could not save He Lu Lan, because of the agreement, he had to find a new method. One could say, no matter the results, Fairy Li Shan had Fang Yuan on their side. At least, when it came to saving He Lu Lan, they were in agreement. Thinking of this, Fairy Li Shan had to let go despite her reluctance, she allowed Fang Yuan to take time luck immortal Gu. This transaction ended with both sides fulfilling their own needs. Fang Yuan used the chance to extort two immortal Gu, because it happened to suit his new plans, it could be said that he greatly profited. But he had not found out Fairy Li Shan's true bottom line. In truth, even if Fang Yuan wanted the two Strength Path Immortal Gu, it was not impossible. But Fairy Li Shan's acting was impeccable, Fang Yuan could not probe her true bottom line. Meanwhile, Fairy Li Shan paid two Immortal Gu to break free of the dream realm and save their lives. Their lives were naturally more valuable than the Immortal Gu. Thus, they formed a new agreement and completed this transaction. Fang Yuan and Tai Bai Yunxing immediately returned to Hu Immortal Blessed Land, trying to refine the various Dream Path Mortal Gu, to form the Immortal Killer move and save He Lu Lan. Meanwhile, Fairy Li Shan rushed to the first peak of Snowy Mountain. There, old ancestor Shui, who had already gathered most of the demonic Path Gu immortals, and had urged Fairy Li Shan multiple times already. Before going, Fairy Li Shan said with a look of concern, urging Feng Yuan, I am only leaving Little Lan here temporarily, the third peak is not safe, Feng Yuan, I hope you can do your best, the longer this drags on, the more dangerous it gets. If Little Lan is in trouble, you will not be safe either. Chapter 768, Identity Exposed. Feng Yuan activated fixed immortal travel, returning to Hu immortal blessed land, but at the same time, at a certain battlefield in northern plains, a fight was coming to an end, the victor had been decided. More than 10 Gu immortals surrounded the two people at the center. Qin Baixing landed on the ground, bending his back as he pushed his knees upwards, preventing himself from kneeling down. He was no longer in the previous bold and heroic state. Even his intense battle intent earlier had dissipated, it had completely transformed into shock and dejection. This immortal killer move is called Green Jade Song. Qin Baixing raised his head and looked at Feng Gu, speaking as he spat out blood. His blood was no longer red, it had turned into an eerie green. As the green blood was spat out, it solidified rapidly, turning into beads of jade pearls while falling to the ground. These jade pearls collided with the ground and emitted a crisp sound. The surroundings within a huge area had completely been turned into a domain of jade. The soil on the ground used to be extremely ordinary, but now it had been turned entirely into green jade. Not just that, the reeds on the ground had also become jade-like objects. As the wind blew, the jade stems swayed with the wind, as the reed leaves shook slightly. Meanwhile, there was a jade will emitting from Qin Baixing's body. Not only were his clothes turned into jade, half of his hair had turned jade too. Even most of his skin had frozen into jade. The blood in his body could not flow smoothly, there was the contaminated jade blood in his body. Qin Baixing was now trying to get them out of his body. Thankfully, his organs and intestines were protected by his defensive immortal killer move, they managed to resist the Green Jade Song. After personally witnessing the process of Qin Baixing losing to one attack, the remaining Central Continent Gu immortals had a grim expression, their gazes towards Feng Gu were full of wariness. Feng Gu floated in the air, looking at Qin Baixing as he said with a tone of admiration, that's right, this is my own creation, Green Jade Song, it can convert everything into jade. You were able to resist it for 15 minutes, that is very rare. Alright, you are truly strong and courageous, it is too much of a pity if you die here, searching your soul is too disrespectful too. How about this, I will ask you a few questions, just answer me truthfully. The Central Continent Gu immortals heard Feng Jiu's words and felt some surprise. This was not in line with their earlier plans. Lord Feng Gu. Qin Baixing is a Northern Plains expert, if you let him go so easily, you might be leaving behind a future danger. This person could resist Green Jade Song for 15 minutes, he is a strong adversary and a lone cultivator, why don't we? Everyone spoke out, hoping that Feng Gu would kill Qin Baixing. On one hand, they were wary of his battle strength, but on the other hand, they were coveting Qin Baixing's great wealth. Qin Baixing was one of the biggest winners in the auction. To make a comparison, the total amount of immortal materials that Feng Yuan obtained after selling all of the Gu immortal captives was less than 1% of his earnings. But Feng Gu waved his hand, I have already made up my mind, there is no need to say anything else. Old Oracle, I will need you to use the killer move, Gentleman's Bamboo. Facing Feng Jiu's firm attitude and insistence, the Central Continent Gu immortals were silent. The Green Jade battlefield in front of them was the greatest deterrence. They were all experts of the 10 great ancient sects, but they had all found out now that they could not even take one attack from Feng Gu. If they swapped places with Qin Baixing, they would end up in an even poorer state. Feng Jiu's strength was so great that all the Gu immortals here lost their vigor. Qin Baixing had lost his battle intent, while the Central Continent Gu immortals were thinking, no wonder Feng Gu was acknowledged to be at first place in Central Continent. 6 songs meant 6 immortal killer moves, Green Jade Song was only one of them. With such battle strength, he was simply terrifying, even against a rank 8 Gu immortal, he might not be inferior. The young-looking Wisdom Path Gu immortal that was called by Feng Gu was from Ancient Soul sect of Central Continent. He breathed in deeply, walking out towards the center of the battlefield. He stretched out his fist from his wide sleeve, opening his 5 fingers as a colorless crystal bamboo grew out of his palm. My immortal killer move, Gentleman's Bamboo, uses the rank 6 Immortal Gu Bamboo Gentleman as the core, with 660 Mortal Gu complementing it. It is used specially for detecting lies. Even though the core Immortal Gu is rank 6, this killer move can work against rank 7 Gu immortals. But against rank 8, it will not be effective. Old Oracle's explanation sounded modest, but it was actually a threat to Qin Baisheng to not play any tricks. Qin Baisheng's expression was very ugly, he understood what Old Oracle was trying to say. I lost to one move, Feng Gu, you are really amazing. My skill was inferior, I admit my defeat, ask away. But you can only ask 3 questions. Qin Baisheng said. You. A few Central Continent Gu immortals were unhappy, they frowned as they emitted killing intent. Feng Gu smiled, no problem, 3 questions are enough. Ask quickly, I have no time to waste. Qin Baisheng spat out the last mouthful of jade blood, regaining a bit of his grandeur. The first question, who is the person who sold these immortal Gu, delight in water and mountain and worldly wave trace? Qin Baisheng was stunned, he imagined Fang Yuan's appearance, feeling sour and bitter within. Sha Huang, oh Sha Huang, you were the one who brought harm to your brother. Thoughts flashed across his mind as Qin Baisheng replied plainly without hesitating, this seller is called Sha Huang, he is an immortal zombie. Sha Huang, immortal zombie. Feng Gu muttered, continue speaking. Qin Baisheng continued, I only met this person recently, because I used my rank 6 luck inspection Immortal Gu and saw that this person's luck was greater than normal, I befriended him. This person has a mysterious origin, it seems he has a backer. In this auction, he sold 13 Gu immortal captives. Among them, there was a rank 7 Gu immortal, Rushing Thunder Hand Wu Hao. Furthermore, he has a close relationship with Fairy Li Shan, that is all I know. Once he said that, Qin Baisheng's body shook as his skin burst open, blood poured out like a fountain with no sign of stopping. Qin Baisheng growled in pain, concentrating as he activated his healing Immortal Gu. Upstata T from N, 0, /V. /LBN .co/M. After a dozen breaths, he stabilized his injuries, but the pain was too unbearable, his body was still shivering slightly. This was due to the previous alliance agreement. Now that he leaked the information, he had broken the agreement and was facing an intense backlash, his life was in danger. Feng Gu looked at Qin Baisheng, then turning around to look at Old Oracle. The colorless bamboo in Old Oracle's hands was swaying without a trace of a change in color. This proved that Qin Baisheng's words were all truthful. Thus, Feng Gu continued to ask, the second question is regarding the collapse of 88 Truyang building, tell me all that you know. Qin Baisheng heard this and his expression became very ugly. An hour later, the Central Continent Gu immortals watched as Qin Baisheng flew into the sky, becoming a small black dot as he vanished from their vision. One of them was not satisfied, Lord Feng Gu, are we really letting him off? He has so many immortal Gu with him, he even has almost half of the immortal materials traded in the auction. Feng Gu shook his head, it is not that I do not want to strike, but I found out that he has a method to detonate his soul, just the aura of it alone is terrifying. If we force him, he will probably drag a few of you down with him. By then, our plan to get information would fail. It's actually like this. The Gu immortals were uncertain. Feng Gu said with deep meaning, "Look at this colorless crystal bamboo, you can tell if I lied." Everyone kept quiet. Old Oracle smiled sheepishly, retracting his immortal killer move. He changed the subject. "Thanks to Lord Feng Gu, we obtained these clues, it will really help in deducing the true culprit." Feng Gu nodded. "We will split into two groups now, one will protect Old Oracle and let him deduce in peace. The other will follow me and go to Northern Plains Zombie Alliance, finding out news about Sha Huang. If Sha Huang is a member inside Zombie Alliance, we will capture him on the spot, that would be the best outcome." The Central Continent Gu immortals listened to him, they split into two groups and retreated rapidly. 15 minutes later, several blurry silhouettes landed here. How can this be? Looking at the green jade field in front of them, Lang Zi could still sense the power of this killer move. Wariness flashed in his eyes. Oh no, Qin Baisheng was ambushed, they have already fought. He Cheng had rich experience, his expression sank when he saw this. Fairy Jiangyu quickly took out a set of investigative Gu. After checking, she let out a breath of turbid air. Thankfully, even though they fought, Qin Baisheng was not captured, he has already escaped in that direction. Fairy Jiangyu's investigative method made He Cheng and Shui Songzi gasp in shock in their minds. When the Central Continent Gu immortals left, they had erased all of their traces, but when Fairy Jiangyu used her method, she managed to expose more than 10 Gu immortal auras. These auras all differed, they were in all kinds of sizes. Among them, the aura that Feng Gu left behind was the largest, far greater than the rest. Qin Baisheng managed to escape from the ambush of more than 10 Gu immortals. Shui Songzi was surprised. "We are only 5 people, how can we trap Qin Baisheng?" "Don't worry, I have a method," the mysterious black-robed Gu immortal said in a hoarse voice. Fairy Jiangyu retrieved her Gu worms, she showed an anxious expression. "Go, in that direction, let's chase him." Langya blessed land. What a huge piece of spiky metal. Wow, 1,500 kilograms of death water. These are actually jade wood eggs, wow, so many. Fang Yuan, you are so crafty and scheming, you did not disappoint me at all. Langya Land's spirit looked at the mountain of immortal materials, while having a joyous expression mixed with pain. Not only were the quality of the immortal materials in front of him good, they were huge in quantity, the land spirit was pleased. But when he thought about the 4-6 split between him and Fang Yuan, he felt bitter deep inside. Those 13 Gu immortal captives were all from Langya Land spirit's work. But now, Fang Yuan was gaining a huge profit from them, he felt very uncomfortable. "Actually, if you want the immortal materials, it is not impossible," Fang Yuan said. Langya Land's spirit stared with his eyes wide open, he was not happy, instead, he showed intense alertness. "Rascal, what scheme are you up to now?" He was scared of falling into Fang Yuan's trap. "You have a lot of hairy men in your blessed land, they are raised well and are good at refining Gu. But mine are quite inferior. I have a lot of mortal Gu to refine, help me refine these Gu and I'll pay for it using immortal materials. Don't be afraid, this is a fair trade," Fang Yuan said warmly. Langya Land's spirit's eyes rolled, without thinking for too long, he agreed, "All right, since I often help that Inkman lad anyway, I'll take your business too." Chapter 769, Testing Immortal Gu. Hu Immortal Blessed Land. A crystal mountain stood high at the center of Hu Immortal Blessed Land, it was recorded in the legends of Ren Zhu, Dang Hun Mountain. Fang Yuan was hovering above Dang Hun Mountain in his original form, with a height of 6 meters, a green face with sharp fangs, imposing build and 8 monstrous arms. However, when compared to Dang Hun Mountain, he was minuscule like an ant. Fang Yuan's eyes let out bright light as he looked at Dang Hun Mountain below him, and suddenly gave a shout, pulling mountain. Next moment, a formless, majestic force erupted from within him and moved towards Dang Hun Mountain. Fang Yuan opened up his 8 arms in an embracing pose, as if he was hugging a giant object. He gritted his teeth and exerted all his strength, like he was lifting a very heavy item. Rumble. At first, the sound was only a slight noise. But soon, the sound kept on increasing till the surroundings started to tremor slightly. The object that was causing the sound was Dang Hun Mountain. Under the activation of Fang Yuan's immortal Gu, this large crystal mountain began to slowly rise, leaving the ground. Fang Yuan gritted his teeth, the muscles in his 8 arms bulged up like lumps of rocks. Not only his arms, the muscles in his entire body were being exerted. Creaking noises started echoing from his body, with his bones being under extremely heavy pressure. With his great efforts, Dang Hun Mountain was lifted higher, gradually rising 5 to 6 inches from the ground. Hu Immortal Land Spirit was watching this with a shocked expression, with her mouth slightly agape. Rise. Fang Yuan wanted to properly test the immortal Gu, and did not stop even at this stage. Rays of light started to gradually shine from his body. These rays were all over his whole body, but were not close together and looked extremely sparse. The rays of light started getting brighter. At the same time, the speed at which Fang Yuan raised Dang Hun Mountain was also becoming faster. At first, the mountain was only raised by inches, now it was ascending foot by foot. While activating the immortal Gu pulling mountain, Fang Yuan observed his body as well. These shiny rays of light on his body were strength path Dao marks. Strength path Dao marks covered his whole body without any particular order, some got entangled and gathered into one ray, while some occupied certain parts of his skin by themselves. I activated the immortal Gu, pulling mountain, with all my strength, and the strength path Dao marks on me resonated with the immortal Gu. The power of the immortal Gu did not change, but I could bring out close to 20% more strength from this resonance. Fang Yuan persisted for a while longer, until all the bones on his body started cracking. Dang Hun Mountain was lifted to a height of 200 to 300 feet, before he slowly placed it back down. The enormous and heavy mountain landed on the ground, producing a reverberating noise, like that of muffled thunder, and raising a billowing wave of dust. Fang Yuan breathed roughly, his whole body was worn out and limp, there were many injuries to his muscles as well. However, a few breaths later, with an immortal zombie's powerful regenerative ability, all his injuries, whether they were in bones or muscles, recovered rapidly. Fang Yuan's breathing stabilized. He slowly closed his eyes, meticulously recalling the sensation from just earlier, while still hovering in the air. Before using the strength path immortal Gu, pulling mountain, Fang Yuan had gone through many kinds of deductions. Now that he was using it, his understanding was deepened. After all, true knowledge was derived from practice. Ever since I became a strength path Gu immortal, there has been no increase in the strength path Dao marks on my body. Thus, even after using all my effort and under the resonance of strength path Dao marks, I could only increase my power by close to 20%. Activating pulling mountain immortal Gu will continuously consume immortal essence. Just this period of time already used up 3 beads of my green grape immortal essence. The consumption seems very high, but considering that the target was Dang Hun Mountain, it is not much. Dang Hun Mountain was a wondrous place that could produce Guts Gu. It was unique in the entire 9 heavens and 5 regions. Not even Snowy Mountain could match the value of such a precious treasure. Based on this, Fang Yuan speculated that it would be much easier for him if he pulled other ordinary mountain ranges compared to Dang Hun Mountain. Pulling mountain is good. After a while, Fang Yuan opened his eyes and softly praised, extremely satisfied deep inside. No mountains were easy to pull or move. Trees had tree roots, while mountains had mountain roots. If they were casually moved, the roots could be broken and result in their destruction. Visit NOV. Ubin, C/M for the L. For instance, wind, rain, thunder and lightning were caused by abundant heaven chi mixed with occasional earth chi. Mountains and hills were the condensation of earth chi with a bit of heaven chi blended in. Destruction was always much easier than construction. Mountains and rivers were easy to destroy, but could not be easily shifted. Mountain roots were connected to the earth, interlinked by earth chi. The earth chi was like the foundation of a tall building. If the mountain was forcibly pulled, it could directly break the earth chi and destroy the mountain. However, pulling mountain had a mysterious ability of directly breaking the connection with the earth chi without damaging the body of the mountain. After the mountain was placed down, it could connect with the earth chi again. This was not something achievable through ordinary methods. Pulling mountain, pulling water. Let's try this strength path Immortal Gu next. Fang Yuan left Dang Hun Mountain and with Little Hu Immortal's help, he instantly arrived at the Blessed Land's eastern area, hovering in front of a lake. The eastern part of Hu Immortal Blessed Land was covered in lakes of all sizes. It was the result of Fang Yuan linking the east and the north, using water to extinguish fire in the past. At that time, countless rock men had been sacrificed. Now, the lakes here were supporting the habitats of large amounts of blue jade carps, many air bubble fishes and a few water wolf groups. Above the lakes, there were many dark clouds linked continuously. Large numbers of star fragment grass were planted on the dark clouds, forming grasslands in the sky. In the grasslands, groups of starlight fireflies were fluttering about. Among the ordinary firefly groups, there was a higher than average proportion of starlight firefly gu mixed in them. Thus, although there were thick dark clouds over the eastern part of the Hu Immortal Blessed Land, starlight shined brightly all over the area. In the sky was a grassland of starry clouds, while on the ground were lakes spread all over, sparkling and reflecting the starlight. Fang Yuan flew above the largest lake, activating pulling water Immortal Gu. A similar formless force penetrated into the lake. Fang Yuan slowly raised two hands and immediately with a splashing sound, large amounts of lake water were lifted into the air. Compared with pulling Dang Hun Mountain, Fang Yuan felt that pulling the lake water here was as easy as picking up paper. There was an enormous difference between the two. The lake water's state was still the same as before with no change. Large numbers of fish, shrimps, eels and turtles were freely moving around inside. It was only that they were not able to swim beyond the periphery. A formless force held up the lake water in place of the lake shore. Underneath the floating lake, the bottom of the lake had completely dried up, without a trace of water left behind. Large amounts of water plants were piled up on the lake bed, along with stones, shells, and so on. Fang Yuan moved his 10 fingers in different ways, causing the formless force to change. The giant lake water was like a piece of muddy clay that allowed Fang Yuan to mold it according to his will. Occasionally, it took a form of a long strip of dough, round like a ball another time, and the next moment it was finally molded into a hexahedron. After transforming it for a while, Fang Yuan stopped moving his fingers, before exerting the thoughts in his mind. The lake water shook non-stop, displaying all sorts of weird and strange shapes, like a deer flying, a cloud moving, but regardless of the changes, the fish groups and other living beings inside were covered by the formless force, unable to get out. Nice, nice. Little Hu Immortal, who was watching from the side, laughed joyfully with bright eyes. Tai Bai Yunsheng was also watching, and heaved a sigh. Moving mountains and overturning rivers, it truly is the sight of an immortal's power. Fang Yuan's thoughts moved again, and the enormous lake water slowly and gently landed back into the lake. Fang Yuan retrieved the formless force, stopping pulling water Immortal Gu. This lake was restored to its previous state, but there were waves churning on the surface of the lake, lasting for a long while. These two strength path Immortal Gu have specific forces. One is targeted at mountain ranges, while the other is for water. If used with kind intentions, one can bring in rain, and move mountains to open a path. If used with malicious intention, mountains can capsize and giant waves could rise up to the sky. Fang Yuan inwardly praised. This was the battle strength of Gu immortals. They could directly steamroll through mortal Gu masters like crushing ants. I obtained 2 Gu and my battle strength immediately rose explosively. But to integrate them in my immortal killer move, Myriad Self, won't be an easy matter. I will definitely need time and effort. Unlike the immortal Gu, self-strength and strength chi, which can almost directly merge with Myriad Self because Myriad Self's concept matches with them. Designing a killer move was not simple. The Lightning Path Gu immortal, Vicious Lightning Fiend, had gone into secluded cultivation for several years before he was able to draw references from the Blood Deity Immortal Gu recipe to create the killer move, Lightning Deity. He Lu Lan already had the mortal killer move, Self-Strength Phantom. Even with this foundation, making it an immortal killer move was difficult. She had been trying so hard at it, but still had little success. In his previous life, Fang Yuan had created blood path killer moves, and it was a result from racking his brains, spending long periods of time and making painstaking efforts. Fang Yuan still did not have any clue on how to merge these 2 strength path immortal Gu into Myriad Self. But he was not worried and was even confident. One part of this confidence came from his strength path attainment. More of it came from his incomparable confidence in rank 9 Wisdom Gu. The light of wisdom could produce unlimited inspiration. This was a supreme tool in deducing Gu recipes, immortal Gu recipes, mortal killer moves, immortal killer moves and many other things. Looking back at this auction, Fang Yuan lost Worldly Wave Trace, Rising Azure Cloud, Delight in Water and Mountain, and gained Iron Crown Eagle Strength, Pulling Mountain, Pulling Water, Eat Strength and Unravel Mystery. Every Gu was good, the main matter was whether they suited oneself. Fang Yuan's battle strength had increased by a very large scale with this auction. Junior brother, you gained a lot in this auction. When you completely process them, your battle strength will surely increase by several times. Tai Bai Yunxing slowly flew over, praising Fang Yuan happily. Fang Yuan nodded, right, I now have a desolate beast bat corpse and can add in a 3rd pair of bat wings. Eat Strength Immortal Gu and Iron Crown Eagle Strength Gu can be used to cultivate, increasing the strength path Dao marks in my body. The more Dao marks there are, the more power I can bring out when I use Strength Path Immortal Gu. There is also Inch of Time, Memory Thought Gu, Malicious Thought Gu and others which I need to urgently produce in large numbers. I have to combine the complete unfamiliar face and the incomplete vaguely familiar face to design an entirely new method of disguise. There is much work to be done and they all need to be carried out. In the coming days, Fang Yuan was definitely going to be extremely busy. But this was a good thing. The auction was an excellent opportunity which Fang Yuan tightly grabbed onto and made the best use of, bringing progress in more or less every aspect. Tai Bai Yunxing reminded, don't forget your agreement with Fairy Li Shan, the main task is to refine Dream Path Mortal Gu to form the immortal killer move which can awaken He Lu Lan. I understand this, you should go to Eastern Sea. Tai Bai Yunxing smiled, Shark Demon has already urged me several times over these last days. Junior brother, if there is anything, just notify me and I will immediately return. Fang Yuan frowned, be careful. We have revealed many things in this auction, also, Ma and Zhao have fallen into the hands of others, this is not good for us. At this moment, he was still not aware that his immortal zombie Sha Huang identity was already exposed. Chapter 770, Refining Dream Path Mortal Gu. Amidst the light drizzle, Qing Mao Mountain appeared even greener than usual. Fang Yuan sat in his room, facing his younger brother Fang Zheng. Brother, why are you still so stubborn? Uncle and aunt had raised us with great difficulty these last years, yet you reported them to the elders. This is really an ungrateful act. Fang Zheng puffed up his chest, standing in front of Fang Yuan as he scolded with a righteous tone. Fang Yuan's expression was calm, his gaze was cold as ice as he looked around, thinking, this dream realm is very realistic. Soon after, he inspected his body, seeing that in his rank 3 aperture, he had Liquor Worm, All-Out Effort Gu and others. Fang Yuan's mind settled, he thought, this body's cultivation level is the same as before the 3 Kings' Blessed Land time period. At this time, Fang Zheng said with agitation, right now, there is still some time before the elder's trial, it is still possible for brother to withdraw your case. If you really put up a case against them, your reputation will be ruined, everyone will look down on you, I will not acknowledge you as my brother. Fang Yuan chuckled, he stood up and walked towards Fang Zheng. Fang Zheng took a step back, brother, what are you trying to do? Seeing him like this, Fang Yuan felt a strong sense of disgust in his heart. This is the dream realm's entanglement. Fang Yuan knew this in his heart, he held in his disgust as he walked past Fang Zheng, walking out of the door. Brother! Fang Zheng turned around, grabbing Fang Yuan's arm. Fang Yuan could not enter or leave, he turned around and looked at his brother, the sense of disgust deep inside was growing. He had an urge to give Fang Zheng a slap before moving away. But Fang Yuan became calmer, he grabbed Fang Zheng's arm as he exerted strength, attempting to free himself. But soon after, Fang Zheng's other arm grabbed Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan sighed helplessly, a sharp light flashed in his eyes as he raised his leg, kicking Fang Zheng onto the ground. Fang Zheng was sent crashing onto the ground, he could not get up for the time being. Fang Yuan was freed and turned around, taking large steps and walking out of the door. The moment he left, the scene in front of him changed. He was in the Guyu clan's discussion hall. The elders were all seated on the 2 rows at the sides. The clan leader was at the center, looking down at Fang Zheng and Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan inspected himself, finding that he was kneeling on the ground along with Fang Zheng beside him. Fang Yuan's was fully aware, he knew that when he kicked Fang Zheng earlier, his emotions had been moved and it caused the dream realm's entanglement to become stronger. Previously it was the first scene, it was just a room with 2 people. But now in the discussion hall, it was larger than the room, and there were around 10 people. Most of their faces were blurry, only Fang Zheng's face was clearly visible. Fang Yuan looked around, he only gazed at the clan leader for a short period of time before his face suddenly became clearer. Fang Yuan quickly looked away, not daring to keep gazing. The longer he looked, the more his memories would be pulled out, and the more realistic the dream realm would be. The bigger problem was getting his emotions involved, the moment emotions he invested, he would fall further into the dream realm's entanglement. Fang Yuan did not have any dream path immortal Gu to help him, if he lost himself in the snare, it would be hard for him to free himself. Where is the Gu refinement material in the dream? Don't tell me it is not in this second scene, but the third? Fang Yuan looked around as he searched, but there was no result. Just as he was thinking, the clan leader spoke. Soon afterwards, a clan elder stood out and announced to everyone that Fang Yuan was suing his aunt and uncle for trying to embezzle his parents' inheritance. Fang Zheng was the witness, speaking for his uncle and aunt. As Fang Yuan listened to them, the disgust and hatred deep inside him grew, even a sense of anger was hidden within. As the elders spoke, they were all siding with Fang Zheng, they did not treat Fang Yuan well at all. Fang Yuan's situation was getting more dangerous, but he still remained extremely calm. He paid careful attention to these emotions, deep within himself, he was sneering in disdain at them from beginning to end. The accused may enter now. At this moment, the clan leader spoke. Uncle and aunt appeared, they had an angry expression. The moment they spoke, they chided Fang Yuan, saying that he had an unfilial attitude. They said that this was completely a baseless accusation, there was no such thing, but all of the elders believed their words, smiling coldly at Fang Yuan. "We will give you one last chance, do you have anything else to say?" At the end, the clan leader opened his mouth, asking Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan coldly smiled. This was the trap of the dream realm, once he spoke and triggered his emotions, he would be in danger. Thus, he kept quiet and shook his head. The clan leader's expression changed, he sneered as he pointed, "You are truly guilty, you have no words to rebuke us. I will now declare, you will return the 9-leaf vitality grass Gu back to your uncle and aunt." The 9-leaf vitality grass appeared very fresh and lifelike, it was taken out of his aperture and handed to his uncle and aunt. Fang Zheng kowtowed continuously, "Thank you Lord Clan Leader, thank you elders for your clear judgment, you protected my innocent uncle and aunt's reputation." Fang Yuan felt faint anger and sadness in his heart, but he controlled them. His gaze was shining, he stared at the 9-leaf vitality grass. F0 Lo Nu. Hapters at nov/el/bin/.com. The Gu refinement material had appeared in the dream, it was this 9-leaf vitality grass. That really was full of hidden danger, the key item is involved in all sorts of ways to trigger my emotions. The more I focus on this dream material, the more my emotions would be drawn out, I would sink into the dream realm's entanglement. Thinking of this, Fang Yuan made a move, using his primeval essence and injecting them into his Gu. Several strength path phantoms appeared, attacking his uncle and aunt. He took the 9-leaf vitality grass immediately, not staying afterwards, charging out of the door without hesitation. "Scoundrel!" The clan leader smiled in spite of his anger, he charged out as well. "You dare to offend your seniors, you are too audacious, you deserve death." The elders shouted angrily, following the leader and chasing after Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan had just stepped out of the door when the scene in front of him changed. He was in a cave with countless pale white bones around him, this reminded Fang Yuan of southern borders by Gu Mountain. Because of Grey Bone Scholar's inheritance, Fang Yuan and Bai Ningbing worked together, eventually escaping by Gu Mountain and hiding from the assault of Bai clan. This was a vivid memory etched in the depths of his heart. The moment he had this recollection, the surroundings of the cave became clearer, they even changed and became exactly like Bai Gu Mountain back then. Fang Yuan was alerted, he stopped recalling his memories. At this moment, Gu clan leader brought close to 10 clan elders, entering Fang Yuan's vision and chasing him. Fang Yuan quickly retreated. Once he died in the dream realm, his soul would take great damage, or he might even die because of the dream. In the 500 years of his previous life, who knows how many Gu masters fell into a dream realm's entanglement and lost their lives inside dream realms. According to Fang Yuan's soul foundation, death was not possible, but his soul could get heavily injured. Fang Yuan was not afraid of soul injuries, because he was in control of the exclusive Guts Gu transaction. The problem was, if he left the dream realm due to injuries, the dream material that he had searched for with much difficulty would vanish. His work would be wasted, Fang Yuan did not want that. As Fang Yuan escaped, he checked the 9-leaf vitality grass Gu in his pocket. The grass Gu was realistic and lifelike, Fang Yuan had a sensation deep within himself, reminding him that this was a high-tier ingredient for refining dream Gu. Fang Yuan moved about left and right, escaping into a small cave. He released a few Gu worms as a danger detection method, before sitting on the ground and refining Gu using the Gu recipe in his memories. Halfway through the refinement, Fang Yuan was discovered by some pursuers, they blocked the only exit of the cave. Fang Yuan sighed helplessly, he activated several strength path beast phantoms and forced his way out. During the intense battle, he restrained his emotions and only forced them out, not killing them. A moment later, he found a second cave and entered it to refine Gu again. This time, the refinement was even shorter, he only finished 30% before he was discovered by Fang Zheng. "He is here!" Fang Zheng shouted loudly. Fang Yuan snorted, kicking and sending Fang Zheng flying. At this time, an elder had arrived already, assaulting Fang Yuan from behind. Every time he got injured in the dream, it was a huge hit to his soul. Fang Yuan was in a dangerous situation. He turned around and summoned several beast-strength phantoms, turning this elder who attacked him into meat paste. "Fang Yuan, you will die terribly." Before dying, this elder cursed as he shouted. His blurred face turned clearer, turning into the academy elder's appearance. Fang Yuan sighed deeply to himself. During the dangerous moment earlier, he was distracted and his control over his emotions weakened. It caused him to fall deeper into the dream. This was also the reason why he did not kill the pursuers all along. The dream scenario could go on endlessly, it could be said to be infinite. Even if Fang Yuan killed the pursuers, new ones would appear. Even if they did not appear, there would be new disturbances. Especially when he engaged in life and death brawls, he had to concentrate. His emotions were more likely to influence his actions. There were all sorts of dreams. They involved drawing out a person's emotions, so that they could not distinguish reality and illusions, eventually sinking into the dream realm's entanglement, unable to wake up. Thankfully, Fang Yuan had his previous life's experiences. Even though his achievement in the field of dream realms was pitiful, it was enough to deal with this. After getting rid of the pursuers, Fang Yuan came to a hall. It was exactly the same as the area where he refined bone-flesh unity Gu. Here, Fang Yuan finally refined his dream path Gu worm. As the pursuers came, Fang Yuan laughed as he muttered to himself, "Time to wake up." As he said this, the scene in front of him vanished and turned into pure darkness. Fang Yuan gradually opened his eyes. The darkness faded and turned into the scenery of Dang Hun Palace, just like before he entered the dream. Meanwhile, Fang Yuan was sitting on the bed, his arms grabbing at a space. It was the same as the motions of his arms in the dream. In the dream, he was grabbing the newly refined dream path Mortal Gu. Now that he was back in the real world, the dream path Mortal Gu vanished. Fang Yuan was not shocked. He checked inside his mind. In his mind, a dream path Mortal Gu was floating. The thoughts around it were like bubbles, popping and vanishing. The first dream path Mortal Gu is finally done. Fang Yuan smiled in satisfaction. Dream path was different from other paths. The Mortal Gu did not have physical forms, they only existed in the mind. Only dream path Immortal Gu could turn from immaterial to solid.